it or not. There is a moment meant for us, and now you made it, but I already played this. Not interested, open your eyes, let's get it done. Take my hand, just follow me. Shadow and me are one.
Welcome, everybody, to USA Taekwondo's Summer of Poomsae. We are your hosts with the most, Sherman Nelson, Jason Poos, and we are in front of lovely palm trees. Jay, what's going on, brother?
Yeah, loving the background, Sherman. Loving the fact that we're getting to see high-level Poomsae here in a pandemic. So very excited about the opportunity to see our best competitors compete. Congratulations if you moved to semis in earlier episodes, but we've got more competition for you right here, right now. Tell us who they have here, Sherman.
So, Jason, we have the junior black belt male division and 20 of the junior female black belt division, because we have 70 junior female competitors. So we took 20 of them with all of the junior males, and that is episode 3. What do you think of that, my friend?
Yeah, I think that's amazing. First, it's amazing participation. Great job getting out and competing here when you really haven't had a ton of opportunities to compete live. And two, it speaks to the availability of USA Taekwondo staff to get that many athletes through. It's just tough on them. Think about that, what you're saying. All the junior male, 20 of the junior female, tons of Poomsae, tons of work. So kudos to the staff at USA Taekwondo. Obviously, Jose and others, as they're putting out a huge product here for you. But Sherm, more exciting competition, more opportunities for these athletes to move into the semifinals. So without further ado, let's send it out to our commentators and give you the junior male competitors and 20 of the 70 junior female competitors coming at you right here, right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3. We have a very exciting set of athletes here for you today. We have the junior male category, in which we have 44 athletes, and that will be followed by the first 20 athletes in the junior female division. So we get to see some male and female 15 to 17-year-old athletes today. And we are starting here with Brandon Cho from Eagles Taekwondo in California, Master Jin.
And I'm going to jump in with you if it's okay, Miyako. This is Coach Barbara Brand, and I'm here to enjoy episode 3 with everybody. Brandon's off to a really great start with Kumgang. We've seen quite a bit of Kumgang in the Summer of Poomsae so far. So it's going to be really nice to be able to have all 44 competitors do this Poomsae as well, so we can have some opportunity to compare all the different divisions and their growth with Kumgang.
Absolutely, and then seeing how different age groups tackle the form as well. You know, we've seen some cadets do it, now some juniors. We saw senior 1 athletes do it, and they each take a little bit different approach as your body gets bigger and as you get taller. It makes a big difference. So excited here to see these junior male athletes compete.
Brandon looked really comfortable in that Poomsae. He gets a score of 7.27. That's a really great score to start off the division with.
Absolutely. We have, again, 3 judges. And they usually will start setting out the scores based on that first competitor. And so Brandon here is opening up with some really great scores, great team Eagles out of California. So he's setting that bar really high just to open up the gate.
The second Poomsae is Tebek. And with this Poomsae, we get to see the nice high kicking technique, the side kicks in this line right here, coming off the Hakdari Sogi. So going right from a crane stance to a side kick, which is a little bit of a balance challenge for many athletes. So looked like Brandon again had an easy time with that section as well as the rest of Tibet.
Yeah, definitely setting the bar high here for this junior male category.
So he received 7.53, and the presentation on Tebek, a lot of doors to open with this Poomsae because of the high front kicking and high side kick opportunities here. So 7.4 for Brandon Cho's final score. So with Kumgang, we're looking for the balance, of course, and the speed of the turns with the punches. But with Tebek, we have opportunity to see side kick and front kick. Up next, we have Charles Sabal.
Oh, this is Anton. I know Anton. He's from, actually, I'm not sure where he is, but I know he competes with the T-Boss team out of Boston.
Right. He's with Kwan's Martial Arts Center, and his coach is Master Viet Nguyen.
Master Viet, shout out.
So these turns right here, he wants to stay nice and low, keep his head, shoulders, belt, everything at the same height, looking really smooth as he comes across this line here.
One thing to watch on these high blocks as you're doing them is that they should finish in line with the side of your head. So where your eyes are looking, it's very common that some athletes will pull that hand backwards as they turn their head in the opposite direction, but you want to make sure that high block stays in line with your face. So here it would be on the left side of his face, but the right side of us looking at it. And you'll see this right hand here a little bit better in alignment. The left arm on him pulled a little bit more. So good improvement over the course of that form on those high blocks.
Sure.
Good. So that was Charles Anton Sibal, and his score for Kumgang is 6.47.
준비. 시작.
Outside of Taekwondo, Anton likes playing the saxophone and the piano, as well as playing video games.
Here's a nice high front kick. It's probably the best part of his Poomsae so far is that nice high extended front kick, and his side kicks are looking very strong as well.
Yeah, he's showing really great flexibility. I think just a little bit more control coming out of the side kicks so that he can control that landing into the stance. But good flexibility. I think taking a little bit slower tempo so he can control it. And yeah, good. A lot of really good elements there.
And he gets score 6.5 for Tebek, and a combined score for both Kumgang and Tebek, 6.48.
So just as a reminder, as we're watching this, we have 44 athletes in the junior male category. So we will be taking the top 50% or the top 22 scores into the semifinals.
This is Bowman Kim. He's from Kim's K Taekwondo in Georgia, and his coach is Master Sunjin Kim.
We've seen a lot of Team K athletes in the Senior 1 division and the Cadet division, so now we have the juniors coming up here. Lots of great teammates again, just seeing the high caliber of all the athletes so far coming out of this group, so coach is doing a really great job with them.
Once we have about 6 athletes that have competed, we'll see the standings come up on the board. In case you're keeping track, you'll see that after about 4 more athletes.
Bowman here has just a little bit of a forward lean in some of his sitting stances. But overall, his structure is really good. We're seeing good balance, good control, and then speed on these spins.
Hello.
Slight weight shift there, but really, really high level form here for Bowman on his kumgang.
Yeah, it looked like he's trying to turn really quick, which is a great idea, and then you have to really stop on a dime. So that's very challenging, but he got a great score on that, 7.03. So with this division, the strength is going to be a huge issue, because with the cadet division, there's still young, developing athletes, and while they do have a lot of power, we're going to see even more power with this division. Here at the 15 to 17-year-olds, there's just so much strength through the kicking technique and the punching and other striking techniques. So we see that really on this line here, it can really drive through those hand techniques on the line going to the rear. And this nice finish here. So those last two lines are just really, really fun for the junior athletes to be able to drive their power through each technique. And again, another high score for Bowman Kim, 7.37. Really opening it up on that Poomsae, especially near the end there. So he receives a total score of 7.2.
I'm Lufei Sung. I'm 15 years old, and I train at Miracles Taekwondo with Master Suji Kang.
You've been doing classical ballet, so can you kind of describe to us what classical ballet is?
Classical ballet is what I'm sure like you've all seen. It's like the dancing, the pirouettes, the jumping all over the place. There aren't really multiple forms of ballet. I guess you could say like there's the Italian form and there's French form of ballet. They're a bit different, but fundamentally they're still the same. Well, ballet I've been doing for like 7 years. It's been a while since I've done ballet. And I got started doing ballet because I used to swim, and my mom thought it'd be a good idea to start ballet to help with my conditioning for swimming. And it turns out I actually started to like ballet a lot more than I liked swimming. So after that, I just started pursuing ballet, and then I stopped doing swimming.
You also play football, so
yeah,
those are kind of three different types of sports. So how did you get into football, or which came first, like football, ballet, or taekwondo?
Football is probably the most recent thing I've picked up. I started doing it in 6th grade, so only like 3 years ago. And football I started doing because I wasn't really a social kid. I was kind of like isolated. So my parents really wanted me to do something more team oriented. And at first I was really against doing football. I really didn't want to do it. I kept on protesting. But then I got hooked on an anime called I Shield 21 that's all about football. And after watching that, I did like a total 180 and suddenly I really wanted to do football. So I joined the team, and I think it actually has really helped.
Has ballet, helped you with your taekwondo and football conditioning?
Oh yeah, it's like all three of the things are really different sports, but they all kind of have like a symbiotic relationship with each other. So you have ballet, which helps with my stability and like balance for all the single leg stuff. And then the football helps with my explosive power during taekwondo. And it's also really good for conditioning as well. Yeah, so for ballet, at the beginning of the pandemic, we had classes, but then it ended at the same time as like it would usually end. For like it's a yearly thing, we have a break during summer, so ballet has ended for me. As for football, I'm still working out every day, and I also have agility training to do at the field at our school. And finally, for taekwondo, I have Zoom classes with my team, and then every Saturday I go and train in person.
How was your experience competing in an online tournament like Summer of Poomsae?
Oh, you would think that it's like less stressful and more easy to do it online since you can just do as many takes as you want. But the thing is, the second you mess up, you have to do the entire thing over again. And then you're doing like the same forms over and over, and you get tired. So the more tired you get, the more you mess up. So you have to do it even more times. It was just, I had to film it a lot.
경례. 준비.
This is Liu Fei Song, and he's with Team East in New York, and his coach is Master Suji Kang.
You know, one thing, we saw the cadets in the earlier episode, that's the 12 to 14-year-olds. Now the juniors, 15 to 17. These are pretty small age divisions. It's just 3 years. But then once these guys age up into the senior one, they're going from 18 to 30 years old. So there's a lot of years there, right? Like 13 years to get to develop your power and your style and really evolve as an athlete. But here in these divisions, you just have 3 years before you age up again. So it's a little bit smaller division here, 44 athletes, as they are moving through this Kumgang and then Taebaek.
Good, so he finishes up that Hakari Sogi 8 count, a little bit more balanced than it started, and probably a nice sigh of relief at the end of that. Was a really strong Kumgang for Liu Fei Song, and he received a 6.6. So it may have taken the athletes several runs at Kumgang to get a good one, but one that they felt proud and that they could continue on with Taebaek. So this, although the video may not show it, the athletes are doing these Poomsae back to back. You get a minute rest. Actually, I think it was 30 seconds rest for this event. 30 seconds rest between the two before starting the second one. So although you're seeing the score in the middle of the two Poomsae, they're actually standing, the athletes are standing there waiting for 30 seconds or less before starting the second Poomsae. They may have done it several times and then just chosen the best one out of the bunch, right? Miyako, like maybe they did it, you know, could have been 10 times, could have been 15 times, could have been over the course of a couple of days. Liu Fei Sung score 6.87.
Right, and you had a few, probably up to a week, I think, to record the videos once the Poomsae were announced. Liu Fei here getting a total of 6.73. So you could record it not only just, you know, multiple times in one day, but you had multiple days to try and get that good recording. And especially at this age, I don't think the body has so much wear and tear, so you can do it multiple days in a row. Whereas I know I'm recording for some other events, and I need a break at least between days before trying to get another really good, strong run in.
And some of the athletes may not have had access to their club sites for days in a row. So they may have had a bit of a chance to rest up and try it again, but certainly they could have done many, many runs, and they decided which one was their best, one that they wanted to select for this event. Because they had to do both, all 3 rounds, prelim, semifinal, and final round, it was quite a bit of recording. So 6 Poomsae during the course of 1 week. It seems like a lot of time, but for many athletes who are very detail oriented, maybe A-type personalities, just by the nature of the fact that they're Poomsae athletes, it may have seemed like 1 week wasn't enough to give them ample opportunity.
And here we have Daniel Lambrecht. He is from Minnesota, and he trains at World Taekwondo Academy under Master Patrick Hoth. And he gets a 6.63 on his Kumgang. It's very common, we've mentioned this in other episodes, your Kumgang score will probably be lower than a lot of other forms just because Kumgang is so long, and there are also so many chances for balance checks, or for you to, you have to hold that balance, so there's a lot of wiggling in the knees. So A lot of times people feel more comfortable with not kumgang and the score goes up. So here is Daniel's tebek.
I see the effort him here, really trying to reach out with good side kick technique. So he had good position on that and looked like he was trying to extend as far as he possibly could. That was good. Daniel's made a lot of progress over the last few years with his Poomsae, and he receives a 6.57 for his second Poomsae tebek, and then a combined score for the two of 6.6. So in this group of 44, we're looking for the top 22 athletes. They'll be moving on to the semifinal round. So hopefully at home you're keeping track of the scores, and then in just a few minutes we'll also have the standings come up on the screen. You might want to pause it there or take a picture of it. And this is Arne Bish. And Arne is from Black Tiger Taekwondo in California, and his coach is Master Kenny Cho.
I think we've seen this dojang before as well. I remember the brightly colored walls that looked really fun and I feel like it would be inviting when you walk in. Although it might be distracting while you're trying to do this kumgang, I'm not sure.
It's really nice that he has the opportunity to do this in his actual home dojang. It probably feels nice and at home there. And with kumgang, it's all about like, what are you really going to punch? Are you going to try to punch this little piece coming up here, this quick turn here with punches, and then risk landing off balance? You're going to try to really punch first line, which many athletes do. What are you going to do so it has some pizzazz? He received 6.27 for kumgang. Because athletes don't want to fall into, doing this all at the same pace. Otherwise, kumgang seems eternal as the officials are looking at it. We want to make sure that we have some contrast in the individual techniques and that we have plenty of presentation highlights as we're going. So he seems a bit more comfortable on tebek. Picked a much quicker, more aggressive speed.
Right, we are seeing a lot of the guys in this division pushing the tempo in tebek. It's a lot easier, when both your feet are on the ground because you just feel more grounded, like you can push the speed in your stance transitions.
Yeah, he has a little up and down motion. If he can tame that, he'll probably see the scores bump up a bit. But that was a lot more aggressive than the first one. I really liked watching that one, and he got a bit of a higher score, went from a 6.6 to a 6.7 between Poomsae, so ends up with a 6.48.
And that was the same score as Anton. So when we see those rankings, here we go. It goes to presentation there. So Arne takes that 5th place spot.
So you have a little gap for Brandon Cho, 7.4, and then Bowman Kim at second with 7.2, followed by Lu Fei Song, 6.73.
Here we have Caden Wong from California, part of Sky Martial Arts and the Team M CPP. And he's coached by Master Yoon and the masters On Hui and Long Win. And this is Caden, we saw earlier in the Senior 1 division, his sister Trinity Wong, who made it to the finals in the Senior 1 female division. So here, her brother competing in the junior division. Little bit of a balance check there, but he saved it really well. Kind of fell back onto the heels, but didn't pick anything up.
And that's the thing about kumgang. There's always going to be something. So it's a matter of really digging deep, getting that center of gravity nice and low to help support you when one leg is up in the air.
It looks like maybe Caden is growing recently. He looks pretty tall, especially for this age group, and just getting used to really sinking into those stances and locking everything out. I think if he can do that, the presentation score will go up because it is fairly accurate.
Yeah, so Caden Wong received a 6.23, that first score. Looks like all the judges are pretty aligned with these first competitors. There aren't any really high or low scores amongst the three judges.
One of the hard things there in that side kick bar is your height should not change from the back stance to the crane stance before you shoot for that side kick, but it's a very difficult transition. So I think we did see some height come up as he went into the crane stance, but finished pretty strong here for Caden Wong out of California.
Yeah, good effort for Caden Wong on that second one, 5.9 for Tebek. So a little bit lower than the first one. And total score 6.07. You know, some of these athletes haven't been working on Tebet for that long. So the cadet division only goes up to Kumgang. So this is a new Poomsae perhaps for a lot of the athletes. This is Hunter Proctor. And Hunter is from Zhang's Taekwondo Martial Arts, coached by Master Jato Zhang in Kansas. It's good to see him probably maybe being recorded by another athlete or his master instructor and making sure that he's safe as he's competing, doing the recording. That's a lot of work to be able to, number one, do all the Poomsae multiple times, but then with the mask on, much more challenging.
Right, I did a workout just yesterday and I was doing it with a mask on for the first time, and it really makes a difference. You have to take more breaks, make sure that you're stopping to get water and let your heart rate come down, because it does train you in a different way. But I do think if you can train in a mask and then you take it off in a couple months from now, your Poomsae will feel a lot easier.
Yeah, a lot of athletes were working with elevation masks before the team trials a few years back in Colorado Springs. So many of us are used to wearing those elevation masks to get a little bit better training session. There's Hunter Proctor with a 6.9 for Kumgang.
시작!
Yeah, many of the athletes probably in this division are going to be battling a little bit of that up and down movement. Their head is kind of, as they're going from side to side, coming up and down, but just having learned the Poomsae or maybe not trained with it for very long, it's probably the last thing on their mind. They're probably just thinking about each step and making sure that they're starting and stopping in the right spot. That was Hunter Proctor finishing up Tebet, 6.83. And total score is 6.87. So we're getting quite a few here in this mid-range sixes now.
Right, and of course we have a different group of judges for each of the divisions, so it's not worth trying to see like, oh, well, in this last division, this made the cutoff. Just watch your division, watch the scores come in. I have a notepad here, and I'm writing down all the scores with you so that we can track who's going to make it into the semifinals. Again, we're taking the top 22 athletes.
This is Sean Lee from Just Taekwondo, and his coach is Master Justin Wong. Sean's a very hardworking athlete, and he looks like he's getting some increased strength over the last couple of years. He's really starting to develop in terms of just his general size, growing a lot, getting more muscle mass, as a lot of these athletes are from the 15 to 17-year-old ages.
Right, I think he would benefit. I don't think he'll get any deductions, but his face isn't quite turned all the way over on some of these moves. So there, it almost looks like he's looking into the corner rather than fully to the back. So just turning your head over that last 15 degrees will really make a big difference.
Looks like he's got it there on that turn. Sometimes when we have a camera, it's hard not to kind of put that in our peripheral vision. Like we're turning, but we're kind of also keeping track of that. Sean Lee received score 7.13 for Kumgang.
시작.
It's also fun because in Kumgang there are no kicks. So then when they open up with Tebek with those front kicks right away, it's you don't always know what you're going to get on the kicking caliber because we saw Kumgang and it's more stability. But here, Sean is showing some really great control and height on these side kicks. Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah, good alignment there with the side kick and the front kicks as well in terms of the height. So as he's turning here, looking to finish strong, really pushing up from the floor, really trying to power off the ground, which is what they start doing very, very well at the junior level and then really start exploding with it at the senior one, the 18 to 30-year-old age group. So Sean receives a 7.07. And so he joins two others in that 7-point range and receives a total score of 7.1. So just behind Brandon Cho and Bowman Kim. This is Caleb Bresson, and he's from World Taekwondo Academy in Minnesota, and he is coached by Master Patrick Hoff. So this is that angle that we were talking about just the other day. I want to make sure that athletes know in the future we'll probably have plenty of Poomsae events in the future. Want to make sure recording at about the height that the referees would be normally viewing you from. So more around the midsection height would be a good viewing spot for them and a good recording height for you.
Right, and Coach Brandon, I don't know if you're seeing, he has a really great hair flip as he does these spins. It's very stylish. He gets bonus points in presentation. But normally you want to keep your hair out of your eyes so that really you can show that intensity. The facial expressions in Poomsae, while they're not, overly dramatic, it is important to be able to see the direction of the eyes, make sure that your intensity is there. So we saw in the senior 2 male category, Dave Chan had a little ponytail to get his hair out of his face during this quarantine hair growth. And Caleb here gets a 6.33, couple hits in accuracy there, but overall a pretty solid form.
Yeah, a little gel goes a long way, so maybe Caleb can just put a bit of that in next time. We want to make sure the eyes are completely visible. So here he can maybe lock in that back leg a bit more on that front stance, make sure that looks really strong to give him a nice, powerful base. So the intended height for the side kicks is going to, and the front kicks, all kicks in Poomsae, going to be the head level. So that'll be a really fun thing for him to work toward as he's training in Minnesota. He ended with probably the best stance of the whole Poomsae. That was really nice. Trying to extend out as far as he could. He received 5.87 for Tebek.
A bit of a spread there in the accuracy, but again, as you work that up, different judges will take off points for, heels coming up or back leg not locking. So that can easily come up. Caleb here gets a total score of 6.10.
자료 Kenny.
This is Ellis He.
준비
from Just Taekwondo in Southern California, coached by Master Justin Wong also.
시작.
So it's great to see so many teammates competing. We saw his teammate earlier in the same space. Taking a little bit of a slower approach here on the tempo.
And I think that's a strategy that a lot of athletes use. They're trying to make sure that they don't lose a bit of balance anywhere. So they just slow down the entire thing. And sometimes that works for them as they're learning the Poomsae, but at some point they're going to need to speed it up right in here in order to get a higher score.
Right, that last one that he did, the spin, it almost looked more like a step over and a 180 turn and a 180 turn. You really want to smooth that out as you get more comfortable with the form. Really turn it into a smooth spin. Think more like a ballerina, you know, smoothly just gliding over the floor as opposed to stepping across. So it looks like as he gets more comfortable with this form, he'll be able to open up that upper body volume of motion a little bit, really make sure those mountain blocks are big 90-degree angles on the arms and smooth out these spins and speed it up just a little.
Well, I think we've all done it like he's doing it at some point or other, right? And then try to build from here.
Absolutely.
He has help. He has a lot of strong teammates at his club and a multiple national team member for master instructor, Master Justin Wong. So he receives a 5.77 for Kumgang. That's Ellis He.
준비. 시작.
This looks like he, just like many others, just picking up this Poomsae from the cadet level to junior level. This is a new Poomsae for the athletes. You can see him trying to work through it. There are some unique techniques in here, especially in this area right here. But I imagine he's going to try to power through this line to the rear. Most athletes feel very comfortable with this. It's similar to take Sajang at the beginning. So they can just kind of put through the beginning of that line and everything else falls into place. And that right there looks a little bit like Taego Chiljang for some of the athletes, or it feels that way, so they can connect pretty easily. That was Ellis He finishing up with Tebek, received a 5.57. He's got a ton of potential though. And his combined score for the two Poomsae, Kumgang and Tebek, is 0.67. So while it was one of the lower scores, I think he has a lot of potential, and I hope he keeps training.
And we're here, USA Taekwondo Summer of Poomsae. I'm Jason Poos with Alex Pease, a junior male black belt competitor in our virtual Summer of Poomsae competition. Alex, how you doing today there in Rockville, Maryland? You doing all right?
Yeah, I'm doing fine, thanks.
Yeah, good to see you. Thank you so much for spending a little time with us here on our Chopping It Up show. Let's kind of get right to some of the questions and see. You competed in other virtual tournaments. I know this. So tell us what it took to ultimately put out the perfect Poomsae, to submit it for competition from beginning to end. Give us some time frame, takes. What all did it take ultimately to put out your submission?
Okay, so for this competition, we had been training a little bit, like starting about a week before. We had been going to the studio on like every couple of days, just to get used to the floor again, since we had been training at home for the last couple of months, which was kind of difficult. But we took all of our takes in one day over the course of 2 or 3 hours. So it was me and my sister were both practicing and taking our videos at approximately the same time. But over the course of 2 to 3 hours, we did about 10 takes each. She actually went back the next day, but I mean, that was about what it took.
Well, it takes some time. There's no doubt. I mean, you're talking 10 takes, and then she wasn't happy with her, so she went back and did another day where you were like, I'm ready, I'm good, I'm submitting it, I'm ready to go win. So I love that. I mean, it just takes a lot of time, and it does take a lot of effort. And I think you bring up a super good point. You haven't been on the training floor in a while, and you come back after training on a harder maybe concrete, maybe carpet. You're going back into your dojang where you're going to have that, matted floor, and per se, and it's a different feeling. So it's a great point that you bring up, that you have to get used to the competition floor again. And I think that it will bode well by you being able to go in there 2 and 3 times a week to get yourself prepared for this. So that's fascinating for you to tell us kind of generally what it took you to ultimately put out your competition form. Okay, so we know that you don't just do Taekwondo, you go to school, you have other things, but give us something that you like to do, or you do maybe in your school outside of your Taekwondo regiment.
Yeah, so I'm on my high school's quiz bowl team. So that's basically it's not really a sport, but it's a club that's designed to help people learn more about mostly history. So yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, you compete against other, other people in your school, or do you compete against other schools? You do it as a team, correct?
Yes, so it's normally a team of 4 people from our school. We go to practices that are most of the time just within the school. We have a club of about 20 people, but for competitions, we have some competitions within our school district that are just really informal and go on throughout the school year. There are also some bigger competitions that are like within, it's like the area, so within a lot of schools within a couple of hours of the competition site will go in and send their quiz bowl teams to compete. So that's really fun.
Yeah, it sounds fun. It's fascinating too. It's a good sounds like good camaraderie. Obviously, you guys have to be pretty intelligent to be able to knock out some of those questions. So it doesn't surprise me that you're able to handle that. Plus your Taekwondo, it doesn't seem to bog you down. And you clearly have some gaming in you because you got a super nice gaming headset on there. So I see it. I know it. I've seen some of that. I've played a little myself. So no, really, I just want to say first, Alex, good luck at this upcoming USA Taekwondo Summer of Poomsae. Alexander Pease, or we're going to call you Alex, from Rockville, Maryland. Good luck again. Thank you for spending time. Good luck in Quiz Bowl as well. And I look forward to seeing you down the line at one of our live events.
This is Alexander Pease from the Bright and Shiny East West Taekwondo Club in Maryland. And his coach is Master Stacy Yu.
Right, and that's his mom, Stacy. We got to see Catherine, his sister, compete in the female cadet in the last episode, and their father competed in one of the earlier episodes as well. So great full family involvement. Alex here has been working really hard. Also, it just growing like crazy. I think he just became 6 feet tall overnight. So Kumgang, one of the more difficult forms for taller people, struggling to really try and stay low a little bit, but nice quick spins there.
Does he outrank his dad? Is his dad a blue belt?
Yep. Both of their kids are higher ranked than their dad. So they could teach their dad how to do his next forms.
Yes, but dad's still the boss, guys. So
I think mom's the boss, Coach Brand.
Is mom also in competition?
She's the coach.
Yep. But all 4 compete?
I don't think I've seen Stacy compete, but she coaches at that dojang as well.
Oh, okay. So she has plenty of time to be the boss. So 5.87 for Alexander Pease in that first Poomsae Kumgang.
Yeah, I think we took some hits on the accuracy. There were some wobbles on the crane stances, and I think he's just getting so tall here. I think extending out those front stances and really learning how to lock in and stay grounded in his stances will help his presentation and accuracy overall.
Yeah, and the back stances here, we want to make sure we keep the wobbles out, make sure we have a nice strong base to throw this hand technique strong. Some of these front stands could spend a little bit more time getting fully realized before going on to the next step. Just maybe, like that one. That one was great. A lot of our athletes are finishing really strong with Tibek.
Sure.
So this is Alexander Pease, and he received a score of 5.7 for the second Poomsae. So not that much dissimilar from Ellis He, the athlete right before. So he receives a 5.78, just a bit over the last competitor. So here's the standings here. Brandon Chone first with 7.4, followed by Bowman Kim with 7.2 and Sean Lee 7.1. So we're through our first 12 athletes here, and we have a total of 44 athletes in this division.
준비.
Here's a familiar dojang. Anthony Dang here, and Anthony is from New York. He trains at Team Champions Bayside, and his coach is Master Andrew Ho.
Taking an aggressive speed on those spins. Again, we've talked about you want some way to differentiate yourself, especially in these big divisions. So finding somewhere where you can push the tempo, like Coach Brand said earlier. A lot of athletes will try and do the spins really fast, but you have to make sure you can control the landing, and really not just your feet and making sure they're parallel, but making sure that your body weight finishes centered so that there's no shifting of your upper body weight in that horse stance.
Probably his strongest Hakdari Sogi there, his crane stance. It got better on the last one. Sometimes we feel we want to go up more, have less bend in the knee, and it doesn't usually pay off in balance. So he receives a 6.6. So it looked like he got granted on that last one, so felt a little bit more comfortable there. But I appreciate him trying to really push it in terms of speed, see what's available for him. Yeah, he's really aggressive as he's going through the Poomsae. And by aggressive, I just mean his speed, his pace. He's really trying to push it. But when we do that, sometimes we give up a little bit of the technique and the form. So maybe just slow it down a bit, make sure the technique is correct, and then speed it up.
That last bar there was the best one, I think, of his form. The front kicks came up, bottom leg stayed grounded. So always good to finish stronger than you start. And here, Anthony gets a 6.0 on his Tebek for a final score of 6.3.
So this is a current 2020 U.S. team member, Ryan Real, from Eagle Taekwondo in Southern California, coached by Master Zhang Jin.
And we saw his sister, Karen Real, earlier in the Senior 1 division. So if you haven't watched that, it was a really exciting division. Coach Brand's maybe most memorable moment was being super excited when Karen got an 8 on Kumgang. So let's see here if Ryan can beat his sister's score.
Well, I certainly think by the time we get to semifinals and finals in this division, we're going to be seeing a lot of the excitement really, really come out when we start, getting these guys down to those last 2 to 4 Poomsae, when they're really knowing that they're in these last rounds, they're really going to hit it hard. Sometimes people feel in Kumgang it's hard to hit it hard with this one because there aren't any kicking techniques. In Tebek, they'll get a start on it, but they're really going to go for it in the semifinals and the final round. So if you're watching this episode, you might want to make sure that you really put on your calendar the episode for the finals in this division and the semifinals in this division.
That was a really strong form for Ryan. I really liked how wide and low his horse stances were, knees open, and he takes a 7.53, which is the highest score of this division so far, and it was on Kumgang. So let's see here. I'm sure his presentation will go up on this form with all of those front kicks and side kicks, which he's been working really hard on.
And as he's grown, he has these super long legs now, so it's easy for him to show the extension. Really nice alignment. Side kick foot position is excellent here.
And Karen and Ryan have some mats set up in their garage where they practice, but it's pretty hot in California, so they've since moved to practicing inside for workouts that they do over Zoom. I've got to see some training with both of them, and they work really hard, and that was a really great performance from Ryan on Tebek, getting a 7.67, so even a jump over his last score.
Right. So I think the difference is that, although many of the athletes are taking a quicker, more aggressive approach to Tebek, Ryan's doing the same, but he's able to finish each movement with real clear recovery from one stance to the next stance, and real sharp finish on each of the hand techniques. So we can't just go fast. We have to make sure it looks sharp and clear. This is an interesting space. This is Connie Lee. And Connie is from Team East Taekwondo, coached by Master Suji Kong.
Had to just bring his arms in nice and tight there so he didn't hit the mirrors, but using the space really well. I'm pretty sure I would have hit the mirrors if I did that move that close. So really good awareness of his body and his surroundings to make sure he can fit this whole form in the space he has.
So we need to make sure that the Hakdari Sogi height, this stance here, and the Juchum Sogi, the horse stance height, are the same. So sometimes we'll see the athlete drop down like that, and we want to make sure we keep it at the exact same height. I'm sure almost everybody watching understands that the front stance, horse stance, crane stance, tiger stance all have to be the same height. So when we go up and down a little bit, we suffer with our score just a tad. So that's Connie Lee finishing up Kumgang, and his score is 6.87. Those little things might matter, just like that, the up and down motion.
Connie recently competed in the 2019 Canada Open in both junior individual and pairs, and he got a silver and bronze medal in those, and a bronze at the 2019 National Team Freestyle. So both a traditional and a freestyle athlete here. Wow, nice, really high side kick there.
Yeah, his front kicks are way up there as well, so he feels much more comfortable with this Poomsae. It doesn't look like he just learned it. It looks like he's been doing it for quite a bit of time. Really able to push up high on those front kicks.
Yeah, I'm definitely seeing the influence of his coach, Master Suji Kong here. A very Korean style, really clean, accurate, and high kicks with no upper body movement. So 6.97 for him on that second form will help bring up his score. And he finishes with a 6.92.
Kenny.
This is Abraham Tu from Just Taekwondo, Southern California, coached by Master Justin Wong.
시작.
So Abraham has quite a bit of Poomsae competition experience, so I'm expecting a pretty strong performance here.
And we are getting to see some of that power. I mean, I mentioned in one of the previous episodes the Poomsae hair, but his hair is showing some movement when he finishes, which just shows that powerful and the click in his arms that he's getting. And he has a pretty good stop where everything stops moving at the end of his motions before pulling into the next one, which we mentioned really helps differentiate you once you're in the upper half of your division, being able to stop each motion before moving on to the next.
One thing that's tough is having the horse stance size be consistent throughout the Poomsae. Quite a few horse stances here, and those are on this back line coming up here, this last line. It's really clear to the referees and judges if those are varying, if they're off at all, if your feet are pointing out to the corners. So these are things that he has to think about as he's going through. So for the most part, he liked that last size there, that last horse stance, where it was a little bit on the wider side, but nice and balanced. 6.73. So the Jushin Shogi, the horse stance that we start with on Kumgang, is supposed to be 2 foot lengths in width, but oftentimes the athletes have to widen it up a little bit to make it look and feel nice and clean. And so that's what many of our athletes are doing here. This is Abraham moving through Quebec. And looking like he was able to kick out at full extension for his body type.
And I think something that takes some work that he did really well is getting your upper body back up after your dip in the side kick really quickly. You can get your body back up, it's easier to maintain that balance. But if your body stays down and it slowly comes back up, it makes it harder to go into the next stance. And he did a really good job at picking the body up quickly, going into the next move.
And received 7.0. Good. So stronger score on that second one, moving from a 6.73 for Kumgang to a 7. And now his total score is a 6.87. So it'll be interesting to see what that cutoff's going to be for those top 22 athletes. This is Daniel Shao. Daniel is from New Jersey. He trains at Apex Tigers Kime, and he's coached by Master Guido Gunn. So those little tiny wobbles and balance issues going all the way through Kumgang. Every athlete has to kind of push through and try to make sure that they can maintain that hakata stance as stable as possible.
Right, and it looks like Daniel is one of the younger athletes in this division. He's just aging up. He turns 15 in just a few weeks. So happy birthday to Daniel. And I think that as he continues to be in this division, he'll get a little bit more power and ability to be able to compete with the 16 and 17-year-olds.
Hello.
Finishing with just a little bit of a wide horse stance there. So accuracy a little bit lower, but coming out with a 6.40.
We have quite a few athletes in that range right now, that 6 to 6.5. So we'll see the next time on the standings here coming up pretty quick where all the athletes are in the division. Good effort on those side kicks. He's really trying to reach up. At this point, he's not really able to extend them as much as he probably wants to and is hoping to, but he is really trying to push upward on those side kicks.
No.
Great effort for Daniel Shao.
Sure.
And he received 6.17 for Tebek. Little difference in scores for the presentation from referees. 6.28 for total score. Here's another familiar club. This is Albert Jung from Taekwondo Kid team. He's coached by Master Ho-Young Kim.
He's really trying to stay low in these stances, but is coming up a little bit on the spins and the stomp. So We'll see how the judges think about that, but I do appreciate the effort on really trying to sink low in these stances.
I see the attempt. He actually looks like his coach would perform this. It's kind of fun to see. He's trying to get that upraised leg up nice and high, trying to get that thigh up as high as he can. We want that to be horizontal if possible. Yeah, pushing, really trying to fight for that balance there.
That's a pretty solid form overall. I think just little things to work on, but I think the judges, so that's a bit of a spread on the accuracy there. So a 6.43 overall. One of those judges really not liking something in the accuracy, but overall an okay score.
Stop!
He's able to stay a little bit more level in this Poomsae. And now we get the opportunity to see the kicking techniques. Kicks look nice and strong and has a good recovery as well. I think we can expect a higher score for Tebek.
Yeah, I enjoyed watching that. I think that a couple of pre-steps maybe on some of the transitions, but overall it was really nice. Yeah, and a 6.8 here on his second form.
So bumps up a little bit for a total score of 6.62. And here's the standings so far. We have Ryan Rial in first, followed by Brandon Cho, Bowman Kim, and Sean Lee. And we have completed our 18th spot here. So we have just a couple hundred more, right, Miyako, in this division?
No, this is a smaller division, Coach Brand. We are almost halfway through. We have 44 athletes, everyone, taking the top 22 into semis.
This is Christopher Pravartana, again from Just Taekwondo. Looks like they have many athletes in this division. He's coached by Master Justin Wong in Southern California. So the timing of Summer of Poomsae is really good for these Southern California athletes, although they weren't allowed to be in the regular training environment for long periods of time. They were able to get in and get this taken care of. Now there's some fires going on in Southern California, and we have a heat wave in California, so it's good that they were able to get this done when all they had to worry about was COVID.
Yeah, California seems like a state where there's just a lot of natural phenomena constantly hitting you guys.
Also a lot of natural beauty and wonder and great Poomsae friends to train with.
True. There are so many great teams, Poomsae teams out in California.
Photo.
And a nice finish for Christopher there, definitely opening up those horse stances at the end to really show the balance and strength, and he gets a 6.97. So one of the higher scores. We have just a handful, 4 athletes who have a 7 or higher so far in this division. So if you are in a 7, probably definitely going into the semifinals. And opening up here with some nice high front kicks and a good extension on the punch. Really using the longer limbs to his advantage here.
Oh, nice reach on that side kick. So athletes are looking to try to extend it completely at a point so we really see where that impact would be. Shooting it out at full extension and being able to retract and recover with balance, that's what they're working for.
Nice ending as well, really finishing out with those high front kicks
Cheerio.
and nice locked out, quick double punches. And he gets a 7.27, so even higher score here. Definitely well earned on Tebek, and his total score will be a 7.12.
Which puts him into the top 5 athletes in the divisions. This is Benjamin Katz. I'm guessing he is in New York. Oh, Connecticut, actually. My mistake. Benjamin Katz is from world champion Taekwondo in Woodbridge, and he's coached by Master Hyun Kim and Sangpil Kim.
He competed at nationals for the first time in 2019 as a red belt, where he received 2 medals. But since then, he's received his 2nd degree black belt. So recently-ish coming into this division, already continuing his Taekwondo career to get that 2nd degree black belt as a junior. And he says he loves to follow the New England Patriots and the New York Yankees.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that part, but it looks really good.
Do you have a team you follow, Coach Brand?
Well, of course, the 49ers. We're in 49erville up here in Sacramento.
I'm married into a Wisconsin family, so I'm now a Packer fan.
Oh, goodness. I'm sorry to hear that. 5.93 for Benjamin Katz for Kumgang. He has a really open expression. Almost looks like he's smiling when he's just moving through the technique.
There's a little bit of settling into some of these stances. You really want to work. As soon as you hit your hands, you want to freeze your whole body.
Looks like he has a good understanding of the individual techniques. Now it's a matter of putting it together, getting out his rhythm, speed, and timing to where he wants it to be. Looks like his coach has done a really good job of instructing him about all of the individual techniques in both of the Poomsae. So good job to Benjamin Katz. He's our 20th athlete out of the 44 that we have here in this episode 3. 6.27 was the score for Tebek, and a final score of 6.1.
And moving on to our 21st competitor here, we have Isaac In from Arizona, part of the Arizona Pride team, coached by Master Ruben Lally and Megan Yee. Opening up with some good power on those defensive blocks going backwards. You don't often see a lot of power there, so nice to see some power coming through for Isaac.
I like him fighting for this height right here. He looks like he has a clear idea of exactly where he wants to be on the Takdari Sogi. He's really pushing for it and really trying to be as consistent as possible.
And Coach Brand, since we have another 3 athletes to go here, how high should that high block be on the crane stance? Should you see a gap between your head and your hand? Should it be on the hairline? Where should they be?
So this one right here coming up, at least one fist width between the head and that fist right there. That looked a little bit low, but it's hard to tell if the referee's going to be able to catch these small, minute things on video. We've mentioned before about the difference about being in person and on video has a little bit of a different look, but he got a really nice score on that. 7.13. Wow, impressive.
Yeah, high for Kumgang for this division so far.
And also just want to mention again that the athletes are using just as much power as they can. We can really see him powering through this. It may not come through completely on screen. When we watch ourselves on video, we're always surprised, like, wow, I thought I was doing it so much harder than that. And then we look at it and just get kind of disappointed, go out there and try again. And no matter how hard we try, we have to recognize that it's never going to look on video as it would in person. So for those of you watching this episode, just take that into account. These guys are really trying to drill through those movements, especially that last punch section there, that last line. And so give them a little bit more credit as you're watching. It's another high score, 7.03. So he's definitely into the top 6 there, gets a 7.08.
준비. 시작.
And here we have our 22nd competitor. So after Michael Chu here, we will be halfway through this division, and you can start looking for those top 22 scores to go into the semifinals. Michael's from California. He's a member of Sky Martial Arts Team and M Team CPP, coached by Master Yoon, both Masters Yoon, Jun, and Andrew, as well as coaches On, Hui, and Long Win.
And if I'm correct, I believe he's on, Michael Chu is on the 12 to 17 freestyle team, the current U.S. team for 2020.
He also went to the 2018 World Championships in Taiwan in that mixed team freestyle. So they won a silver medal there, I believe. So great, accomplished freestyle athlete, also now competing in the recognized division. So maybe we'll get to see, we will have some freestyle for the 12 to 17 division. So maybe we'll get to see him in another episode.
Sure.
And Michael Chu receives a 6.67 on Kumgang.
시작.
Good height on the front kicks, and I appreciate turning through the shoulders here, really making sure to engage. One thing I've noticed recording myself is that I feel like I'm punching to the center of the body on the solar plexus, but when you watch the video, somehow it turns out that your hand is more in front of your shoulder. So really making sure that those punches go to the center line, and maybe redoing it if necessary. Some of his punches just looking a little off center, but otherwise really solid Tebek here, pushing through the tempo with a good control, and some pretty good kicks as well.
Yes, I agree. Sometimes we turn the shoulders a bit too much, throwing the punch off, and that's the angle that the referees are going to be looking right at, straight at you. So we need to make sure that when you're reviewing your Poomsae, maybe take a look in the mirror as you're going through to make sure those are centered up. Michael Chu ends up with a 6.7 for a final score.
준비. Shoot.
And this is Hamza Fazi. And Hamza is from Tiger Martial Arts. And his coach is Master Bo-Young Kim.
Really nice quick spins Pushing through the tempo here a little bit quicker, but so far pretty good control. And nice big open mountain blocks, using that height to his advantage, really taking up a lot of space. Good stability too on these crane stances. Poomsae here actually looking very comfortable in this kumgang, which is not something I say for a lot of people, but good stability, nice volume of motion on the hands. I'm excited here to see what the judges think of his kumgang and what his score ends up being, because I thought that was pretty strong.
Chill.
Yeah, here, huge, 7.67.
Wow. That is the height. I know Ryan Rial received a total score of 7.67, but I'm not sure about the kumgang score. So that was just a giant score there for Poomsae Quasi. It's right there in the top two so far.
So that right leg a little bit more in control than the left leg, and not quite as high as Ryan's, but he is definitely one of the top tier athletes in this division. I don't think I've seen him before, and just really coming out with a really good form, great length, good rotation in the shoulders and locking in.
Yeah, his legs are about 6 miles long when he gets them up there. It's like, wow, when is it going to start? 7.57. Wow, that's some really great scores for Poomsae Quasi. And he finishes up in the top two here, the 7.62. So at this point, I believe he's in second place.
경례.
I have never seen him compete before, so that was really fun to watch. This is Alejandro Molina.
시작.
And Alejandro is from U.S. Tigers in Virginia, coached by Master Dennis Kim.
Outside of Taekwondo, Alejandro loves to perform. He says he sings in a choir and by himself, and he enjoys doing it just with an acoustic guitar with him. So I think being comfortable performing in various different aspects and disciplines will help with your Poomsae, because when you're out here, the spotlight's on you, it's just you out there on the mat. You really have to turn something on to be able to perform at a high level. So I think that experience will help him.
We have quite a few musicians as Poomsae athletes. I think there's a real parallel there. Being able to understand your own rhythm and timing, certainly being able to breathe at the proper time to the technique will be very helpful. So I think it's fantastic that a lot of our Poomsae athletes are using their musical background to help their performances. Alejandro Molina receives a 6.7 for kumgang. Bit of a hit for accuracy from that first judge there. And now moving on to Tebek.
시작.
If he just continues to work on clarity of motion, making sure that all his stances are really accurate in the width, that'll help his presentation come up overall just a little bit. But he has a lot of great qualities. Those front kicks were really high to finish out the form.
He's really trying to make each step important. Of course, there are some details to work on, but it looks like he was really trying to finish each step with power. He received a 6.47. He's probably thinking, what else can I do? I'm trying to throw everything out there, but I'm sure that your coach has plenty more for you to work on, Alejandro. 6.58. a real good start for him. He's an athlete with a lot of potential. He just has to stay at it. Here are the standings. We have, I was off. Definitely, I apologize. Hamza Kwazi, I apologize. You're at 7.62, just above Ryan Real in those standings. So the number 1 and 2 spots, followed by, I believe it was Brandon Cho in third.
Hey guys, I'm back. I am Master Boksun Yang. I met the team at the Grand Slam final, and then the division that I made was 41 through 50 individual and 31 plus for pair team at the Grand Slam final. And after I was preparing for Denmark for our World Poomsae Championship. But through this pandemic, it got canceled. And yes, I was also disappointed because I couldn't go. I prepare a lot, but that didn't stop me training though. Okay, I don't think any incident gonna make me stop training Taekwondo, because this is my life. This is what I do. This is who I am. I train every day. I teach every day. I try to coach many athletes as I can and help them better in Taekwondo. So after it got canceled, am I stop training? I don't think so. I start training back because I heard there's gonna be an online tournament, which is I competed first Dado European Open and Oceania Open and World Online Championship. All those online tournaments, I try as much as I can to continue train and compete through this virtual system, and it worked really well for me. So I took all first place on those competition, which is it's blessed by God. I'm just one of them who try all the time, just trying. And when you don't give up, you will get to the point where you can be the best as you can be. And I like to recommend any students or athlete who's in Taekwondo Poomsae or Kyoryugi, whichever division you're in, category, I want you guys to continue on because that's how I got made, okay? Because I didn't want to stop. I've been training for 40 years and I'm still kicking and punching, competing, and with this, it's just became a part of my life. And I appreciate all the athlete who's willing to continue in this time through this pandemic. And do not let this pandemic change your goal, because without this Taekwondo training, you're gonna lose your goal, your goal setting, your Taekwondo training, and then you will not able to focus into who you are. You have to think about who you are. This is who I am, and I'm sure that you guys are great. You guys are very passionate about learning and processing and get better. Just as long as you're better than yesterday, that's it. I'm trying to be better than yesterday. That's why I'm keep kicking, okay? And if we stay focused, we could overcome this pandemic together. And we can do this. And I'm here, and you're there as a students or competitors. And I'm here as a coach and competitors, and we could work this out together, okay? Never give up, everybody. And, I'm just, I feel great because my Ictus Taekwondo team members are willing to continue and train, so I could still coach. Without students, there's no masters. So without people, there's no president, same thing, okay? Without you guys, we have no place to stand. So I need all the students to continue train so all the masters can continue teach, and we can do this. If I make a movie or book and my title, I like to be called Living Legend, okay? And I didn't bring this one up. I did got a living legend Hall of Fame from USA Martial Arts. And they call me a living legend, and I got an award for that. And getting called a legend is like feeling like you gotta pass away to get called. He was the legend before, but living legend is like you're legend, and he still lives currently right now, and holding that title is it's a pressure because I have to live like a legend now. You know, I have to keep my standard high, and I have to be outstanding any place, anywhere you go, to hold that title as well too. It's been great, and being legend is like can never stop training basically, and being called legend is such an honor that somebody did appoint me as a Hall of Fame USA Martial Arts. Really like to give a shout out to everyone who's competing, junior, cadet, there's youth, for Summer of Poomsae, and keep up your good training. Make sure that you try your very best every single take, and then find the best one to submit. That's a tip for you guys, okay? Find the best one to submit. Don't just submit after one or two try, okay? You gotta take many take and then find the best one, guys. And to my Ictus Taekwondo team members, I'd like to shout out to everyone. All the Ictus team members United Masters team. So I'd like to shout out to all the masters first, because you guys are right now probably taking a lot of takes for your students as well as just like me. I need to go teach private lesson and give a take for one of my students so I could submit for the youth division now. And I want to give a shout out to my Ictus Taekwondo team members. Every one of you guys, try your best every single day, and you will become the best. Thank you, everyone.
Here's Jake de Guzman. He's also a national team member in the 12 to 17 freestyle team right now. And we haven't seen an athlete work outdoors in this division. I think it's really neat when they do. We saw quite a few of the adult athletes competing outdoors, and it's really nice to see him out here.
Yeah, it's not easy to do things on grass with Poomsae. Having a really flat surface is important, you know, no little holes in the grass or anything like that. So it's definitely impressive. We've seen some on grass, we've seen some athletes do it on concrete, which would be really hard on Kumgang. We saw a couple athletes do. So really kudos to these California athletes going out there and finding a space that works.
Especially grass. There's always a little, issue with whether or not it's going to be level or not, how to pick the right spot. It looks like he's doing a great job though on Kumgang, and all those stomps, he knows it. We really can't hear him. But so he's going to have to put a little bit more emphasis in that, really try to drive through.
True. But it looks like he's on a track. We have a guest appearance there in the background. Somebody getting in their exercise.
So much we can control. We can't control the sounds going by, the airplanes, the car sound. And he has to stay there undistracted through that whole thing. And he's really well rewarded here. 7.23 for Jake de Guzman on his first Poomsae.
You could also use some hair advice, Coach Brand. Get that hair out of his eyes.
Well, all of our hair salons and barbershops are closed. So we got to make sure we use the gel when we can. So maybe that's one thing that maybe he's going to switch if he makes it into the semifinal, maybe just gel that back out of his eyes a little bit.
His hair is showing great movement though. When he hits these powers, the hair just taps a little bit. Well, look at that spin. That was great. Yeah, so his back leg collapsing just a little bit on those last two bars, really noticing it on the front stances and the front kicks, but overall really good, strong score here of 7.13. So judges not minding too much.
Yeah, they did not ding that at all. And I was a little bit surprised and worried when I saw that back leg, but didn't really impact the score too much. Gets a final Poomsae score of 7.18. So again, with those top competitors there in the top maybe 5, 6, 7.
Jimmy!
This is Yoshimune Otake. And he is from Master Kim's World Class Taekwondo in South Carolina, and he's coached by Master Jay Kim. This camera angle is just throwing me a little bit. It looks like it's upward toward the right, or at least on my screen, and that may not have been what the referees saw. Sometimes there are some differences between what we're seeing on this platform, and sometimes we might even see an athlete go off screen, but the officials, as they're judging it, may have seen the whole thing from head to toe. So we need to be aware of that. But on my screen here, it looks like he's a little bit higher. The view is a little bit higher on the right side than it is on the left. And so the next time around, or maybe for all athletes, just make sure your camera is on a level surface.
And it just becomes more obvious as you see the lines in the mats. So it looks like the mats are at a diagonal. Just make sure that they're as straight as possible. And here he is getting a 6.57.
Jimmy! See, jump!
So just 2 scores in the 5 range and about 5 or 6 in the 7 range. We have quite a few around this 6.5. So it's gonna be interesting to see where that cutoff is. This is what we were talking about earlier with those punches going off a little bit off center. So we need to make sure that we're checking that, maybe in a mirror or checking the recording, make sure that they're dead on. His side kick extension is wonderful. Taking a little bit more time to lock into each one of those stances would be a good idea. But sometimes we're just pushing through, trying to get that speed and acceleration to make sure we have a lot of power, and we forget that we need to lock in each one of those stances and finish each one as we go. That's 6.8, so a nice boost for that second Poomsae, and ends up with a 6.68.
Yeah, so that's going to be right around where the cutoff is for the semifinals. We don't quite know yet. Again, we're taking the top 22 out of 44 athletes, so we'll have to see what the final score ends up being. But make sure you keep checking. We'll show those rankings, and you'll see where you are in the standings and if you can move on to the semifinal round.
This is Jinseo Lee in New York, and he's from Kwan's Martial Arts, coached by either himself or his father, also with the same name, Jinseo Lee. Try to go for that bit of a wider stance in the kumgang. Sometimes people feel more stable the wider the stance. Just have to make sure it's not too far outside, because then it looks a little bit odd maybe for the body type. So he's got to really try to figure out which looks really strong and then what is a little bit too far out. So it's fun to see this group of competitors, because we have quite a few from all over the country here. We have Kansas and Minnesota, Maryland, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Arizona. So we have Virginia, quite a few, South Carolina, quite a few different states being represented, Georgia and Colorado and Kentucky. It's really fun to see people coming from all over. I'm sorry, Miyako, I didn't mention the score on that first Poomsae. Did you catch it?
I missed it, Coach Brand.
I'm sorry, I know it flashed up pretty quick on the screen, so I'm hoping all our viewers were able to catch that. Pushing hard. It's really fun to watch the athletes here on this line, trying to reach out and stay balanced. That's not an easy line there, going from that side kick to the front stance.
Okay, so on his first form, he got a 6.67. And now we'll see what the judges think of his Tebek. He gets a 6.5. So a little bit range of the accuracy there, George 1 taking off some points. But his total score will be a 6.58.
And he's in good company there because we have quite a few athletes in that same range. So our next athlete here is Julian Ho. I remember this room. We've seen it quite a bit of times, and I'm always really concerned about that piano as an athlete. And he's doing Kugan, which is just, I'm excited. What could possibly go wrong? Maybe nothing, but it just looks like there could be trouble over there to the left.
Yeah, I think this room might look smaller than it is because we saw one of the master athletes, I believe, compete in this space just fine. So we know that they're not going to run out of space, but it is darn close there to the piano.
It's just fun to watch. He's from California, and he trains with Master Justin Wong at Just Taekwondo. And I believe it was his father doing either the exact same Poomsae or one that had similar width going across and did just fine. That's a nice little training space, though, fully decked out with a mirror and all. So thanks to his dad for putting that all together for them to train.
Right, you just have to find a space, and they even have mats, which is great, but we saw the last couple athletes, you know, on grass, on some normal flooring. We've seen people out on different floorings. That was really funny. I don't know if you caught it, Coach Brand, in the back, the chalkboard had his meal plan and workout plan. That's great.
Okay, 6.2 for that first Poomsae there. So you can see right off of his rear left, his meal plan, training plan back there. That's fun.
I can see in big capital letters, it says stretch. That's great advice for everybody. Everybody should make sure they're stretching when they're warm. Don't stretch when you're cold. After workout is always better to do that static stretching, lock down into the splits, really work on your flexibility so you can increase the height of your kicks.
Well, it looks like he's going for it there. Nice strong finish for Tebek.
I think he could just bend his front knee a little bit more in the front stance. It looks like it's probably long enough, but just bending the front knee will help. And
I don't know if you caught it, Miyako, but off his right shoulder, there were a couple white patch marks on the wall. Looked like maybe he did some punching practice there. I mean, who doesn't really, right? 6.22 for Julian's final Poomsae score. So quite a few of these athletes in that low to mid 6 range. This is David Lee. We saw him on episode 1 last night being interviewed regarding his spot on the U.S. team, 2020 U.S. team. He's part of our pair, junior pair, and because he and his pair are slightly different ages, they'll be aging up, and I think she'll be staying at the same level. So kind of a tough thing for those two, missing their opportunity in 2020 for the World Championships in Denmark. But look at him here, bouncing back and saying, I'm gonna do my very best to win the Summer of Poomsae and continue in my effort to be my very best. So if you didn't catch that interview, it's in last night's, or I should say the episode 1 for this group of athletes, the cadet and the juniors. So it aired on August 14th. So you can check that again on YouTube, watch his interview partway through that competition.
And it's so great that we're getting to meet some of these team members and hear kind of about their training, how they're approaching all of this. So it was great to get to know him a little bit more through that interview. And he just put a really good performance out there. Even with a bobble or two, he gets a 7.3 on his kumgang.
He has real strong stances, real good grounding on his technique. Yeah, it's tough to see the disappointment in his and other national team members' eyes when they talk about the 2020 World Championship, but look at him just bouncing back, just ready to go. Really beautiful side kicks.
And just such control coming down into that long front stance. Sometimes after side kicks, we'll cut the stance a little bit short to try and control it, but he is making sure all of these stances are long and extended. Really nice form here for David Lee.
Yeah, he's at the top three there, or top four. You really want to go back and study those. He receives a 7.6, so nice huge score for that second Poomsae. I think that puts him in about third place, maybe fourth place, 7.45 for his total score. So we'll see the standings come up in just a couple of minutes. It's getting pretty exciting here with quite a few athletes now. Brandon Cho and Sean Lee, Ryan Rial, Christopher Paratana, and Isaac Yin, Hamza Kwazi, all over the 7 range. This is Ethan Kim. And
this is Ethan Lam.
I'm sorry, Ethan Lam, and he is from Kwang Tung Martial Arts Institute in Georgia, and he's coached by Master Thong Nguyen.
Showing a really great height on this knee. It's nice and parallel to the ground and really high. Taking a quicker approach on some of these sidebars, but mostly able to control it. So I think this will be another good score, good solid crane stances, good control. And he gets a 7.07 on his first form. It's a nice fun banner they have there in the background with those swords.
Oh, look at those. Those punches are much more centered than some of those that we have seen. So nice attention to detail and great extension on these side kicks. Trying to fight for that landing and a nice steady recovery. Good job. Really high front kicks here. Well over his head. Should be a nice strong score for him again.
And he gets a 7.2 on his second form, which gives him a total combined score of 7.13. So definitely one of those higher athletes above the 7.0 mark. So we will see him in the semifinals. And here are those standings.
So Hamza Kwazi in first, followed by Ryan Rial, David Lee, and Brandon Cho. And we're looking for those, eventually, those top 22 athletes.
So right now that score is a 6.48, but we still have 14, more athletes to go.
That's just going to fly by, Miyako. This is a pretty exciting division here, especially these recent 7s coming in. So, gosh, it's really fun to see like what they're scoring in terms of like, you know, how much do you have to extend? How much power do you have to use? How much locking in are they looking for on each of the stances? How much acceleration, pushing through with the power? This is John Moslit, and he is from U.S. Taekwondo Center in Colorado. He's coached by Master Sean Jung. There's a pretty big team in the Summer of Poomsae.
Right, there's a lot of these U.S. Taekwondo centers out in Colorado. I know when we went over there to do the Grand Slam at the Center of Excellence, just driving around, I saw a few signs for the U.S. Taekwondo Center. So it's great that they have such a good presence, so many athletes, and that we're able to see so many of them here in this competition.
Trying to finish up strong. He's a little high on the stance here. That might impact the score. I want to see that a little bit lower. He is dropping a little lower on the horse stance, but that could be lower as well, especially with his body type. He just needs to get used to dropping that down a little bit. Got a 6.6 for Kumgang.
I think too, he could either roll his pants at the waist or wear maybe just one size smaller. It looks just a little bit baggy when he was sitting in those horse stances. It might just help us see the definition in his stances. He might be low and we're just not seeing it. But here we go on the front stances, extending, and we are able to see it a little bit better.
Oh, good job on the side kick, really trying to push it up. It's definitely one of his stronger techniques. Right here on the stance work, that's probably where he can make the most gains. So if he's going to head back to the gym, maybe a little bit more attention there with his coach. Maybe coming up with a plan to do all of the stance work. That will go a long way, especially because he's growing. It's going to be a bit of an effort to make all of those really polished, but I'm sure that he can do it. He got a 6.58 for his total score.
준비. 시작.
And this is our 32nd athlete here, Ian Rhodes from Colorado as well, the U.S. Taekwondo Center there. Same dojang space that we just saw from his teammate John, coached by Sean Jung. And he's fighting for this crane stance here. It doesn't look like he's resting his foot on his knee maybe a little bit too hard. It's pushing the knee outwards.
It almost looks like the sole of his foot is on the inside of that leg. He's really pushing hard, and that sends that knee outward to the right. But we've all done that at one point or another, trying to figure out how in the heck are we going to be able to keep the knee bent and keep that leg up? How are we going to support it? So we end up turning it to the inside, right? Just like that, hoping for the best. But we just need to straighten it up. And look, he's doing that right now. He's trying to get that nice and straight. So that last one was really good. So good job to Ian Rhodes.
Sure.
We're actually improving during the course of the Poomsae. So he gets a 5.0? Yes, 5.0 for Ian Rhodes on Kumgang.
준비.
And he has some great teammates and coach and Sean Jung. So lots to work on, as we all have lots to work on, but he's surrounded by a great group of athletes and teammates, so he can pick up a lot from them as he continues his training.
So the punch accuracy, there are a couple issues here. Looking for a back stance before that Hakari, so you didn't quite happen. Almost here too, almost there. Just gotta turn that a bit more for that back stance. Good job on really trying to push out that side kick high. Want to make sure we're pivoting on the balls of the feet. He's got a couple of heel turns here, so just kind of straighten out those little details, and then that score is going to come up from the 5s and into the 6s pretty quick. So good job to Ian Rhodes. 4.63. Out of a ding from that 1.6 in accuracy there. He gets a total score of 4.82. Actually did a little bit higher, got a little higher on Kumgam. I haven't seen this, or have we seen this club before? This is Christopher Bradford. And Christopher is from Legacy Taekwondo of Northern Kentucky. Really great to see somebody from Kentucky in this event. I was wondering if we would see anybody from Kentucky, so that's wonderful. He's coached by Master Misty Elder. So he received a 3.87.
Right. It seems like he's pretty involved in his local community, doing Taekwondo for a local series that was done on Taekwondo in his area, and he gets a 4.83 on his second form. Total of those two scores will be a 4.35.
This is Brock Keda. And Brock is from, hey, look at that, Hawaii.
Nice.
Fun, welcome. He's from Dixon's Taekwondo and he's coached by Irvin Dixon Jr. So much fun to see all these different states involved in our Summer of Poomsae. It really shows you just like nothing can quell our desire to continue to train, continue to excel. So you may get dinged a little bit looking to the outside on that little line there for Kumgam. We want to make sure we're looking to the direction that we're going. Needs to turn here and then go in that direction. And same thing there.
Right, so we're gonna take a bunch of majors just for the way that where he's looking on most of these stances. So we'll probably see a lower accuracy, but again, that's something that's really easy to fix, and he'll immediately gain back lots of points on that accuracy once he turns his head in the correct direction.
Right, so by major, we mean a 0.3 deduction rather than a smaller deduction of 0.1. So Brock Akeda ends up with a total score of 3.0. So yes, he did get quite a few deductions for the accuracy there in that form, but easy fixes. It's just a lot of head turns that need to be corrected. And that's probably the easiest thing we can learn to do is just turn our head from one direction instead of another. Here's Brock on Tibet. Maybe just think about lowering those punches to the solar plexus level. Looks like he has good overall strength as an athlete, just needs to go through some of the details.
Right, and he has a great resource here in the Summer of Poomsae. We have so many athletes doing all of these forms again, he can watch some of the other episodes as well to just see, you know, which athletes are scoring the highest, what are they doing, what am I doing, and he can learn a lot, especially with his coach. So Brock here gets a 3.87 on his second form, and his total score is a 3.43.
Okay, next up we have Carter Norson. And Carter is also from US Taekwondo Center in Colorado. So it looks like maybe a different location. And he's coached by Master Hojin Park. This is nice open space, easy to view the Poomsae in a space like this. It's kind of unobstructed, not many distractions going on in the room, so he can just really focus on his movement. A little high, his lower leg could maybe come down just a little bit, get him lower into the stance. But I know when you're tall like that, it must be an issue, right, Miyako? You're pretty tall, probably have the same issues as he does.
It is harder for taller athletes. You have to bend both of your knees. So on some of us shorter athletes, we can cheat it a little bit and lift our knee high to get that visual of a horizontal thigh. But if you're tall, you also have to keep that base leg bent and just really show that off. I think that Carter here did a pretty good job, very stable overall. He could open up his horse stances just a little to help the presentation, and he gets a 6.5 on his first form. Coach Brent, I'm definitely not tall. But I do think that I have some taller teammates, and the struggle is real with some of these forms. But Carter here opening up with some really nice high front kicks, and that is the benefit to being tall, is if you can get those extensions, it looks so nice.
Yeah, he's showing nice extension here, really, really strong. So I'm eagerly waiting his score for this one because he looks like he's trying to reach a lot more. I'm expecting a higher score for Carter with Tibet.
And I think we got to see Brian Marr back in the senior 1 male division. Similar body types here to Carter. I feel like he could look at Brian for some examples of how to move in his Poomsae, especially as he ages up. And you're right here, his score coming up, and he gets a total of a 6.62. So Carter, if you're listening, go watch Brian. I think that'll really help.
Yeah, that's in the 18 to 30 division, the senior 1 division.
Right,
This
and we got
Bryson Lavorne. And Bryson is from World Champion Taekwondo in New Fairfield, Connecticut, and he is coached by Master Cholun Kim and Master Gunsu Kim. So we see that nice, beautiful air track in the background. Who wouldn't want to be doing some freestyle technique on that?
And Bryson competed in the cadet male team at the 2019 World Championships, where he got a silver medal, and also a silver in junior male team at the US Open this year. So another high level athlete here competing at multiple events and opening with a pretty solid Kumgang so far.
Yeah, very stable. Nice picture here. Looks really good, really solid. Taking his time. Really, I like his pace on these pieces right here, where he's making sure that he's stable and his posture looks really clean. Oh, little bit of an overturn on that last step. He was really trying to turn quickly, but nice high score. Look at that, 7.43.
Yeah, he's opening up really strong, and now with the Tebek, we'll get to see some of his kicks. Makes it look easy.
Yeah, his posture just looks really good. He has balance as he's going through each of the steps, finishing all the techniques very nicely. One of the front kicks, wow, that looked great. That side kick was wonderful. One of his front kicks here, he has a bit of a bend in the support leg, but the other one just shoots straight up. That one there, a little bit of a bend, but this one, first time, was pretty straight. Look at that nice long front stance, nice long extended punch. I'm expecting a good score for Bryson in the second Poomsae Tibet.
Oh, I'm surprised here. His accuracy is low, yeah, so he gets a 6.97. I also was expecting something closer to his second score, but his overall score is a 7.2, and that does get him into the semis.
Yeah, that does keep him safe. So not sure quite what happened there, but here are the standings. Here's Samsa Quasi still in first place, followed by Ryan Real, David Lee, and Brandon Cho. And then we are all the way up to number 35. We just finished number 35, and we're looking for the top 22. So getting closer here.
Right, and that score right now is a 6.58. So that mid-6 range, but we still have about 8 more athletes to go. So we'll see where these last scores come in, but as long as you're in the upper 6s, definitely the 7s, you're moving on to the semis. And here we have Derek Forcel from that school in New York that's becoming very familiar to us as we watch these episodes.
So Derek is from Team Champions on Long Island, and he's coached by Master Hyunsuk Lee. He's taken a pretty cautious approach. You're fighting for balance here. Kumgang is cruel. It'll catch you right when you don't think it's going to happen.
Right, you really have to stay focused the whole way through Kumgang. There are those crane stances and spins from beginning to end. So Derek here gets a 6.57 on his Kumgang, a little bit of a spread from the judges on the accuracy. And that's going to be close there on the score if he makes it into semi. So let's see if he can pick it up on his Tebek.
Really pushing high on those front kicks. Good job to Derek on those.
Right. It looks like he has pretty good control of the upper body. We're not seeing too much movement on the side kicks. A dip on the side kick, but on the front kicks, his upper body is staying pretty high up and good height on these side kicks. So we'll see if it's enough to push him into the semis. It'll be close.
Maybe he can just work with his coach a little bit on calming down his core. There's a bit of extra movement there, and that might impact his score. But you look at that, good start, 6.93 for Tebek. So a really good start here in the Summer of Poomsae for Derek Forstel. And his final score is 6.75. So that was right above that 6.58 that you mentioned earlier, Miyako, that cutoff, or at least temporary cutoff.
준비 시작.
This is Jeevan Srivastava, and he's from Illinois. He trains at Flying V Martial Arts with Master Vincent Vienna.
I remember this dojo because we have that line of bobs. You got a nice audience there cheering you on as you compete.
That's right. Holding steady here in this first tough line of Kumgang.
Way to hold on to the balance on that stomp. You could tell just a little bit. He fought for it and caught it. No majors there. I think he could bring his arms just a little bit up here in this high block, just a little bit more space. And then also here as well, just create a little bit more distance between your body and your punch. It shouldn't be on your chest. It should be about 2 fists away. So there should be a good distance there on that large block. And he gets a 6.87 on his kumgang.
시작!
We're getting a lot of extra pre-motion steps and heel lifting up in these transitions. I think if he can keep the heels on the ground, make sure you're pivoting on the ball of the foot, he'll get back a lot of those accuracy points.
We talk about those fundamentals a lot, and they make a big difference. Sometimes in Poomsae, athletes want to focus on the exploding kicks or high kicks, those kind of flashy parts of the technique, because they know that those are going to be looked at. But at the same time, we need to work on our foundation. So I think that will go a long way to helping Jeevan. He received a 6.37 on that second Poomsae. He's got a ton of potential. He just needs to make sure he gets some coaching in the stance lengths and stance transitions. Finishes up with 6.62 in good company with many others around that same score. But according to Miyako's last calculation, just over 6.58. I think that might be to Jeevan's advantage there, maybe just over it. This is Jacob Gonzaga, one of our 2020 National Poomsae team members. He's on the 12 to 17 freestyle mixed team. He's a multiple U.S. National Poomsae team member, so it comes with tons of experience. So I'm expecting a really good, strong pair of Poomsae here. In both kumgang, you see him here showing very balanced. And also with pivot coming up, I think that both will look strong.
Definitely. He's a member of M Team, and they really compete strongly in both the recognized Poomsae and the freestyle Poomsae. So Jake, well known in the freestyle realm, but also very, very solid in recognized Poomsae. And finding a nice space to do this in his backyard, putting the mats out in that back patio there. It is hot out there in California. Coach Brand, you were telling me it's over 100 degrees out there some days. So really great job to Jake getting out these forms in the heat, and he gets a 7.3. So nice high score there on kumgang.
Yeah, 7.3. He's in a little bit cooler area there in the Bay Area, but my goodness, by the time this episode airs, it will have suffered a lot of heat. They're well into the hundreds as well. Up here in Sacramento, more like 111, just really blazing this week, but that's a little extraordinary. Usually it's not quite that warm. But when he recorded this, may have been a little bit cooler, maybe 70s or 80s at that time. So he's feeling really comfortable, I'm guessing, out here, pushing through on that Tebek. Looks like it looked great.
Blowing palm trees in the background, that's great.
Yeah.
And finishing just on the edge of the mat. I'm not sure if his heels are on it, but he finishes in the space, gets a 7.2. So nice high score here for Jacob Gonzaga. It's definitely going to be moving into the semifinals with a total score of 7.25.
Yeah, he never would have given it away if just his heels were off the back end of that mat. He would have been super cool about it, said, nope, I am just fine. This is Julian Gomez. And he's also from California. He trains at Mock Martial Arts. And he's also with the Team M Community Poomsae program. So he's coached by Master Sung Woo and also An Hui and Long Win.
Really using here this 4x4 mat space is just barely enough space for him to do the full width of this form. I have the same number of mats in my backyard, and I know Shibjin is also difficult to stay within the mat space, but here using the full width, and he should be okay.
Yeah, that seems like a magical number for most athletes trying to use a minimum amount of space in their training areas. Looks like he might be in a bigger space, maybe a multi-purpose room or something like that. Nice turn and nice position.
And Julian has a lot of experience. He's competed at nationals, the US Open, as well as the Grand Slam, where he's medaled in all of those tournaments. So a lot of experience, high-level athlete here, and a really solid kumgang. Yep, and he gets a 7.33 on that first form.
And with just 4 athletes to go after Julian, he's putting himself in a really good position.
시작.
Around the top 12 athletes of this division are getting in the 7 range. Nice punch run there. Everything accurate, super strong. Try to reach up as high as we can. We have all these different body types with these athletes. Some are tall, some are small, but every single one of them is reaching up and extending as far as they can. Nice strong finish. These last 2 lines look great.
And I think what's nice about Poomsae is that there's no one body type, which means you will be successful. Like in sparring, it really helps to be tall and have those limbs, but in Poomsae, as long as you work hard, anybody can be successful. Julian here getting a 7.37 on his second form for a total of 7.35, which does put him into the semifinals and in one of those top places.
차렷. 경례.
This is Ethan Morleda. He's from the Wangale USA Poomsae team, and he's coached by Master Samjae Lee. Little up and down movement that he can definitely tame a bit to get a higher score here. We want to make sure that we're staying nice and level through the whole Poomsae, not allowing our head to go up and down. So I think that's something he can definitely develop in a short amount of time. He just needs to have, we need to prioritize it. I'm sure it'll be done pretty quickly.
Right, and Ethan has a lot of experience for somebody in this junior division. He's competed at lots of events. He won this division in the recent NCTA Online Championships that was in June. He competed in the Data Online Championships. He also competed in the US Open where he got a bronze medal. And I believe this uniform is from the Poomsae World Cup in Wuxi, China last year where he competed and medaled, I believe maybe in the male team division. So lots of experience here from Ethan and pulling out a pretty darn solid kumgang.
Yep.
So Ethan receives a 7.37, another great score for Ethan Moraleda. So the last 3 competitors here in the 7th. So that's really nice to see here. A lot of action through the entire division. Those 7s being peppered throughout. So here he is on Tibet, nice and accurate here as he goes through those first 2 lines. Now he's going to get this big reach. Look at that. Gorgeous side kick.
Really nice.
Looks like he feels confident, secure on that landing. And now really going to finish strong here. I know he's probably feeling, this is great. I was able to capture a good kumgang and a good tebek in the same recording. I am going to pick this one.
Yeah, this was a great run for both of these forms for Ethan. Kumgang really showing that stability and speed on the spins, and then really nice high controlled kicks here, a 7.5, one of the higher scores. And it will pull his total score up just a little bit from the kumgang, and his overall score will be a 7.43. With just 3 more athletes to go, Coach Brand.
Yeah, we were almost there. I'm really excited because the last 3 were in the 7 range. So I'm looking to see what Leander Michael Way is going to score here. He is from California as well, and he trains with Master Victor Chung at Team Elite USA. So his coach competed earlier in the under 50 division, the Master 1 division, and had a really strong performance there, medaling in that division. So it'd be interesting now to see what his athlete is going to come up with in terms of score.
Leander also has a lot of experience competing both at state championships, at team trials, US Open, and medaling at many of these events. So high-level athlete, lots of experience coming through here. Fresh new haircut. Gotta make sure you're ready for camera. Yeah, and here's a good example. I mean, we talked about the hair, but it looks like he did gel it back. It is longer on top, but it is out of his face, and we're able to really see where he's looking and see the intensity of his eyes and his gaze through this form. So I think that was really good, solid kumgang.
It sure was. I really appreciated the work he's doing on his horse stance there. He received a 7.5, so really high up along with just over a dozen of the other competitors in this division. So out of 44, we have like maybe 12 to 14 athletes getting over 7s now. That's great to see. Nice high-level competition in his 15 to 17 junior male black belt preliminary round. Really putting a lot into every single step, making each technique important. Really fighting for the extension on the side kicks.
I think he could extend his stances just a little bit. They look a little short for his height, maybe just recently growing a little bit, but pushing that length will help his overall frame.
You really could. It would give him a really nice profile position, especially in front of this camera here. Just a little bit more extension. 7.17 for Leander Michael Way's Tibet performance. And then he receives a combined score of 7.33. So definitely a little pickiness on our part because he did just fine and up there with those top competitors. So now we have just 2 left. This is competitor number 43, Mitchell Norson. Here's our standings again. So take a quick look and see where that, if you see where that 22 was there, Miyako.
Yeah, it was a 6.68. So it is moving up, and we have just 2 more competitors to go. So if you are above a 6.68, you're moving on to the semifinals for now, but that score could change.
This is Mitchell Norson. He is from Colorado, and his coach is Master Hojun Park. So at this point, we just need to keep our eyes peeled, right, Miyako? Because that line that you were drawing out there for the cutoff, 6.68, it could move up a little bit higher, depending on what our last 2 competitors, Mitchell Norson and Devlin Gomez, score. So
we saw about 10 athletes ago that cutoff was about a 6.58. So it does move around as we see all these athletes come in, but the number to remember is 22. The 22 top athletes will move on to the semifinals regardless of what their overall scores are. So that's the number to look for. And Mitchell here looking like he's settling into kumgang a little bit, opened up a little bit shakier, but now sinking into these stances. A little bit of a wobble there on that crane stance. He could also sink a little lower, which he does in that last second.
Yeah, well, 5 of our last 7 competitors scored over a 7. So that's really impacting the cutoff. So he scores a 6.8. And so also pretty high score as well. So let's see how he does in Tibet.
think he can work a little bit more on his transitions. We're seeing some heel lift ups, so pre-step on that 270 spin into this bar. Keep working on the height of all the kicks, but he has some good fundamentals which we saw in the Kumgang. But continuing to work through some of these more dynamic forms, making sure the transitions are clean and the kicks come up.
A few accuracy issues on that form, maybe not quite as comfortable there on that one. 6.3 for Mitchell Norson for Tabek, and then here comes his combined score. Receives a 6.55, so down just a little bit from his Kumgang. That's unfortunate. He just needs to spend a little bit more time on some of those fundamentals. Here's our last competitor of the division, Devlin Gomez. So he's number 44. So if you are there supporting Devlin at home, thank you so much for being patient and then also taking the opportunity to watch all the other competitors and support them as they're competing as well.
And he's fighting for a low crane stance here, really keeping that base leg bent.
So Devlin's from Happy Valley Martial Arts, and he is coached by Miki Song, training in Oregon. And his coach also competed in the Summer of Poomsae, and a very strong competitor.
Absolutely. I think he finished in second place in his division, so great coach, definitely knows all of the current trends and rules. And Devlin here really fighting for like those low stances that I mentioned, but not quite in total control of them yet. We are seeing when he lands them, there are some wiggles, some body movements, but definitely fighting in the right direction. And I think he has a lot of potential.
Well, his coach, Master Song, has fantastic core control. So I think he can be in any better position in that club in Oregon training with them, because he really understands how to move in a calm but powerful fashion. And he showed that on Summer of Poomsae. So you might want to go back and watch the episode with Miki Song competing, Coach Master Miki Song, that is. He receives a score of 6.63.
That's going to be really close. If he can get his score up just by a 10th in this Tebek round, he might be able to sneak into the semis, but it's going to be right on that cutoff.
And many athletes have been able to do that in the second Poomsae, boost their score up a little bit. As a matter of fact, the majority of them have in this division. So hopefully he can do the same and push himself to the semifinal round. For those of you waiting to see if you're making the cut here, we are really on the edges of our seats as well, because it's pretty exciting here. There's so many athletes right about the same score range.
This is one of the hardest cutoffs. I mean, every round is hard to make, but to go from such a big number, and I think he did it, Coach Brent. Let's see, he's going to be so close. He gets a 6.73 here. What is the average? 6.68. It's going to come down to presentation.
Really, really close. So this is going to be exciting. And here are the much awaited final standings here for the junior male black belt division. In first place, Hamza Kwazi. Second, Ryan Rial. Third place, David Lee. Fourth, Ethan Moraleda. And you can see the rest of the top 12 there on the screen now before we push on to the next screen and be able to see who made that final cut.
Right, and we're looking for the top 22 scores, everyone. So if you are 22 or above in that cutoff, which we had a tie for 22nd place between Yoshimune and Devlin. Devlin just missing out on that semifinal round. So close.
Yeah, a lot of great performances on this board right here, these top 22, and then even into this next group here, up to 36 here with Ilian Ho coming in 36 at 6.22. A lot of great action in this junior male preliminary round. It's tough that we won't be able to see some of these athletes in the final round, but boy, what great performances here, all the way up to Brock Ikeda here in the preliminary round of the junior male black belt division.
Hello everyone, my name is Alpha Adams, and I am from San Antonio, Texas, and I am current U.S. Poomsae team members, and I have been on the teams for probably about 4 years, and it's always really excited to make the team. Hope to share some of my inspirations and what it keeps me going during this pandemic situation. So what happened is earlier this year that there's a group of us, of course, made to the USA national team, and we were scheduled to go to Denmark World Championships, and unfortunately it was canceled due to the pandemics. So but then I've seen a lot of our US team members that they have keep up training, and by participating a lot of online virtual Poomsae championships or events. So that's been a very good trend that many of the Taekwondo associations or regionals or nationals or even World Taekwondo have been doing is that continue to promote the World Taekwondo, the Taekwondo, the Poomsae. So that way, that give us a little bit, avenues to continue our training and also motivate us, because as you know, with Poomsae, if you don't continue to train, you lose that ability, the flexibility, the agilities, and the stability. So it's very important to continue to keep up the training. So that's why what I've been doing is just keep my daily routines and not lose sight of everything that's around me, and just continue to focus. I think it's very important. This is a time that we have to focus, stay focused. If you lose the focus, and it's really hard to get back in. I know there's many things happening around us, but then again, just keep a focus, and of course, keep your priority, because sometimes then you have some more important things that you have to take care of. But the training, we can train at home. I see a lot of athletes convert their garage, their living room, the kitchen into a mini dojo. That's awesome, because I just happened to officiate several online Poomsae training. I mean, I have seen all kinds of creative way to convert that little space to become a training area. So that's all great. So keep up the training, and we shall see you sometime in the future. And just really quick, that this year is my first year that I went up to under 60 division. And I was so looking forward to it for the World Championships, because as you know, every time when you age up, you're considered to be, a fresh face in that division. And because it's 10-year span with each division. So pretty much you're competing with the older competitors, and so automatically you feel like, hey, you got a chance, you do have a chance. So I was super disappointed, but I'm sure a lot of athletes were disappointed we didn't make this time. But again, hopefully they will do something next year, and I'm not too sure about this selection process. So please be lookout with the new selection procedure published by USAT. And so keep out the training, and hopefully that there's opportunity for many of you to make the team again, or for the newcomers that maybe continue training, have the opportunity and the shot to the USA team. So good luck for your training, and then we'll see you soon.
Okay, we're going to continue with the black belt action and move on to the junior female preliminary round. First up is Piper Kindle.
And I think we mentioned at the beginning of the episode, but this division of junior female is 70 athletes. So we broke it up, and we're going to do the first 20 for you right now. And then the next episode, we'll have the rest of the junior division. So Piper here is from M Team in California, coached by the Wynn brothers, and she is opening up very strong. She's a well-known competitor, has represented the US, I believe, in the cadet individual division at a world championship. So Lots of experience here and opening up the junior division very strong with a 7.17.
시작.
And the second form for the juniors is going to be Chiljong. So lots of front kicks in this opening preliminary round.
As you mentioned,
Piper's doing really great on Chiljong as well.
sorry, I think I had a big frog in my throat, and actually the whole frog's family. Sorry about that. But as you mentioned, Miyako, Piper has a lot of experience. She's also a current member, 2020 member of our 12 to 17 freestyle team. And she receives a great score, 7.33 for Piper Kindle. It's a total score of 7.25. That's a great start for our junior female preliminary round.
Right, so just like the junior males, we opened with Brendan Cho at that 7.4, set the standard for the whole division. Piper here setting it with a 7.25.
And this is Tatum Nelson. She's from U.S. World Class Taekwondo, and her coach is Master Sam Leiter.
Tatum is just really dedicated to her training of Taekwondo. She says she lives about 55 miles one way from her school. So she travels, over an hour just to get to practice, then has to travel another 55 miles to go back home. So a lot of dedication here from Tatum to continue her training.
And she receives a 6.57 for her first Poomsae. We haven't seen a lot of athletes from Washington, so it's great that she's representing there.
CJ.
Nice strong start with Taeguk Chiljong.
And if you watch one of the past episodes, the cadet females have those red pants, the poom belt. As you age up into this junior division, the women switch over to the blue pants, black belt, black collar. So uniform does change as you age from cadet to junior, but it's the same uniform for junior, senior, and senior 1 females.
Hold on.
And Tatum there finishing up Chiljong with a 6.07. A little bit of a range and accuracy there between the judges, over a point. So some judges seeing something, and she gets a total score of 6.32 for this prelim round.
This is Sky Mitchell. She trains in California at Han Martial Arts, and her coach is Master Kim Bo-yoon. Really shooting high for those front kicks.
She does have a little bit of a collapse on her base leg on the front kicks, but she does seem to be pushing the height, really reaching on both the front kicks and side kicks. So I understand where she's coming from. I think really just keep working on locking out that base leg on the front kick, and it will help the presentation come up. But overall, a really solid form for Sky. She gets a 7.33, so yeah, really high. Judges not seeming to mind too much. A little of a spread there, but really high score. I think that might be one of the high already just in the first 3 athletes here.
Stop.
Holy cow, she got a 4.6 for presentation from one of those judges. That is a monster score. little bit of heel popping going on some of the transitions. So maybe that's something that she can work on in the future.
But a nice quick tempo, low stances. Her heels were just out of alignment there on the last stance. We could see they weren't parallel. So does drop down. Accuracy definitely going down on referee and judge one. Total of 6.87 on the second form. Gives her a total score of 7.1. So still overall really high.
Yeah, and just under Piper Kindle. So for a minute there, I thought she was going to really boost up, but came back down on the second Poomsae. Be just underneath Piper Kindle. And this is Giovanna Geisler. And she has several teammates competing in this Summer of Poomsae event. She's out of New Jersey with Apex Tigers Team ATMA, coached by Master Gita Gunn.
Her front kicks are really high.
And the side kicks as well. I'm thinking it's going to come down to power here for her score. She's slowing down some of the movements to become more accurate. You saw that in that last step, trying to be very careful there on that last stomp. Again, another high score, 7.3. Oh my goodness, this is going to be a really high scoring round so far already with a 7.3. That second judge really awarding the presentation pretty darn high.
Right, and remember, we're only seeing the first 20 athletes in this division. You'll have to come back in another episode to catch the other 50. So we won't know who makes the cut, but we will get a good range of scores here for the first 20 and set the stage. The referees do not change. So just because we split the division into 2 episodes, it's the same set of referees all the way across.
And by watching another episode, you mean episode number 4. So the junior female preliminary round.
Sure. Try to connect.
.28. So now in now actually in first place, just above Piper Kindle at 7.25.
Repeat. 시작.
This is Claire Yi. She's from Just Taekwondo in Southern California, coached by Master Justin Wong. Off to a strong start. It's pretty exciting that these scores are so high right at the beginning of the prelim round. So we saw a little bit of that with the junior male black belts, a couple scoring in the 7s and then a ton at the 6.5 range.
Right, and we are opening a lot of these junior females already. This is just the 5th athlete, and they've done so well. Here, Claire getting a 7.33. She has really great flexibility, but some stability things. We saw a couple shifting in some of the stances, but overall, she is very strong. She's competed at the Las Vegas Open, National Championships. In 2019, she got a silver medal in pairs cadet. So recently coming up here to this junior division, very strong athlete.
Yeah, the first 4 out of 5 competitors in the 7 ranges already, with many, many more athletes to go, right? We have just the first 20 today, as you mentioned, and then the rest in episode 4. So we are definitely excited here to see just how high these scores are going to climb.
Right, and this is the largest division that we've seen so far, 70 athletes. I thought cadet was big at 65, and here we go, female juniors at 70 athletes.
차려.
7.4 for Claire Yi, second Poomsae after their first, 7.33.
Yeah, so going even higher here, finishing with a 7.37. setting the bar and taking that first place spot for now.
Wow.
준비.
So this is Evelyn Vandermeer,
시작.
and Evelyn trains in North Carolina at Tyler Kim's World Class Taekwondo. Her coach is Master Han Dong-yoon. And also competing here with a mask on, making sure she's safe and healthy in her environment. And we mentioned how difficult it is to be training with a mask on. And then maybe having to do the Poomsae repeatedly to make sure that you get your strongest one, and one that you really want to put in front of the referees here. So good job on having that stamina.
Sure.
Absolutely, especially like you said, multiple recordings. It gets harder and harder. But Evelyn here getting a 6.47 on her first form. High presentation.
Yeah, and that second judge continuing with the high presentation scores into the fours for just about all the athletes, I think, and up to 4.6 was the highest one I've seen so far.
So Evelyn really pushing the depth of her stances. They are quite low, but we are seeing some movement between them. And you do want to make sure that you come up nice and tall on the front kicks. So that front kick shouldn't have a bent base leg. You should be nice and tall on the front kick and then back down into those tiger stances at the first bar. She's doing a better job here in this last bar.
Pro.
I see where she's going with those low front stances. We just have to make sure the back leg doesn't look like it's sagging. Right? Sometimes we try to get nice and low, but then we actually make the stance look a little bit weaker than we intend to. This is a score 6.6 for Evelyn Vandermeer for her second Poomsae. So she'll come in with a 6.53, a little bit higher than her first one. So that's great. She's able to boost it up a little bit. There's Claire Yee on top, followed by Giovanna Geisler and Piper Kindle, wrapping up the top three there. So from 7.37 to 7.25, already some really high scores.
All right, and 5 of those first athletes already coming in the 7s.
That's just nuts. This is going to be very exciting. This is Caitlin Reclusado, and she's from the Wangale. She's coached by Master Song Jae Lee and Master Ronan Reclusado.
And she had some great front kicks, so I'm excited to see her side kicks here.
Really trying to push up high, getting as much extension as she can. A nice strong finish. Athlete's trying to stomp really hard, strike that back fist really with a whole ton of power and not suffering any on balance. 7.73. Oh my goodness. This is
they're just going up, and we're so early in this division.
Well, we definitely haven't seen this before on the Summer of Poomsae. These are extraordinary scores early on in the division. I'm hoping the referees have really good memories, knowing what they're rewarding and knowing what they're deducting and staying consistent through all the athletes since the division is so big. It's a really big responsibility for the referees to be able to have great memories as to what they've awarded and what they've been deducting for so that they can stay consistent throughout the division, not have any highs and lows that are really going to impact the standings.
Right, and it is so hard in the big divisions to remember 3 hours in what are those scores that you gave at the beginning. So hoping that our referees are paying really good attention. But Caitlin here, just really good forms here, 7.6 on her second form, which gives her a combined score of 7.67. So already a gap, a pretty big gap too, for that first place spot. And we have, 62 more athletes in the division.
준비?
시작!
This is Erin Kwan. And Erin Kwan is from TG Taekwondo in California, and she is coached by Master Bo-Young Kim. Nice extension on her side kicks. She could lock out the front stances a little bit more for a little more strength.
Right, I think she's also falling into the front stance techniques just a little bit where her chest kind of settles in. But being nitpicky here, because look at that 7.1. There is a spread on accuracy, Judge 1 going down to 2.5. But nice high score here for Erin Kwan.
시작!
Nice high front kicks to start off Taegu Chiljang. So you do want to start off with that nice explosive power in the first front stance, and first line of Taegu Chiljang to make sure that you're making a great impression.
Right, the opening bar, any side kicks, and then the last bar, so important for presentation so that you open strong, you finish strong, and you have great pops of moments, usually in kicks, but having an interesting tempo can also do that to leave a good memory in the mind of the referees when they go to do your score.
차렷!
So for Erin Kwan, she receives a 6.93 for the second Poomsae. There are a couple little accuracy things, especially with the stance width and a little bit wider than maybe necessary for her body type. So she finishes with the 7.02, and again, a lot over the sevens here, so quick out of the gates.
Hey, this is Coach Sherman Nelson, one half of the dynamic duo of Jason and Sherman, and I am chopping it up with Erica So, one of our junior female black belt.
Black belt.
Virtual Poomsae competitors competing in Summer of Poomsae. I don't know why it sounds way better when I do it like that. Erica, thank you for taking some time out of your busy day to hang out with me. How are you today?
Great. How are you?
I'm not too bad for an old man. Not too bad for an old man. So let's get right to it. What's it like preparing for a virtual Poomsae competition?
Well, I found it to be very different, especially because, like all the other senior athletes said, the environment is completely different. In an actual competition, all the audience, like your parents, your teammates, your coaches, like standing behind you, cheering for you. But in a recording situation, they're all standing in front of you, which is more nerve-wracking for me.
Which is weird, right?
Right. And I also think it's recorded in a more quiet setting, which is even more awkward for me as an athlete because your kiap kind of like vibrates across the room.
Yeah, I never really thought about like in the middle of a form and you have to key up really aggressively and it's super quiet. That's kind of startling, I'm sure.
Right.
Wow. All right. So how long have you been doing Taekwondo?
I've done it for 9 years. So I started from second grade.
Okay. What is your favorite thing about Taekwondo?
Favorite thing? Maybe the fact that whenever I go to school and I tell my friends that I did Taekwondo, they get really shocked because they didn't expect that to be like a sport that I would take on.
Okay. Why is that?
It's just Korean martial arts is not widely known in the US, so I think like a lot of my teachers are even more supportive because they just feel unique to have such a student in their class, and I think it's really interesting to see their reactions every time I say I did Taekwondo outside of school.
So here's a suggestion. You start carrying a board and then you ask your teacher to hold the board and you just break out the sidekick and break the board. And then I guarantee you'll get an A in that class. Whatever class it is, you're going to get an A because they don't want you to break their neck the way you just broke that board. All right, so, and probably don't do that. Yeah, because as I think about it, I don't know if that's good advice. All right. So, what is one thing that we don't know about you that we should know? Tell us one thing about you that we don't know because we're getting to know you, but we should know this thing.
Well, I started playing the violin at the same time I started taekwondo because there was a music studio right next door to our taekwondo dojang, and so I've been practicing violin for 9 years as well, and then I recently became the concert master of my high school.
Shut up! What? I don't literally mean shut up, but I mean like metaphorically. Shut up! That is very cool. You are the concert master, taekwondo master. You are what? I love it. All right. Well, listen, Erica, thank you for spending some time with us. Grateful. Again, our Taekwondo community got to know you a little better because now we know that you are adept here and adept there. See what I did? Did you see what I did just now? I don't know if either of those was right, but I did them either way. Again, this is Coach Nelson chopping it up with one of our junior black belt female competitors. Best of luck in this competition and every competition moving forward. I cannot wait until we're back together in a building so we can all give each other a fist bump, but I'll give you a virtual fist bump. Blow it up. Now I'm going to be stuck on the violin all day long. Thank you. Again, one more thing before we go. Hi. Yeah, you didn't even know it. You got chopped. All right, this is Coach Nelson. I chopped. Okay. I even chop concert masters. I want you to understand everybody can get it. That's all I got to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Me. This is Erica So from Eagle Taekwondo in California, and she's coached by Master John Jin. So really good accuracy so far and kick height. Feels very comfortable in this Poomsae. Many of these athletes have probably done these Poomsae, thousands of times by now in their career. So they're feeling pretty comfortable, especially with the lower ones, right? Take a Sajang, take a Gojang.
Hello. And Erica from this Eagles team, a lot of really high-level athletes who've placed in this tournament already, but Erica competing at national championships, President's Cup, 2020 US Grand Slam with gold medals. So 7.67 here on this first form.
Wow.
Showing nice volume of motion on top, clean stops, and of course those nearly vertical front kicks. Erica doing a really great job here. We had those nice kicks at the beginning, finishing strong with some elbow thrusts, so judges have something to see from this angle. A very similar maybe body type and style to Karen Rial, who did really well. So Erica here getting a 7.5 in her second form, and her total score will come down just a little bit from that first score to a 7.58. But that puts her in a very solid second place for now, just behind Caitlin Recusado at 7.67.
It sure does. And her teammate Ryan Rial in second place in the earlier part of our episode, finishing the prelim round in second in the junior male black belt division. So we've seen this spot before on an earlier episode in the cadet division, and this is just really unique and cool coming out of the corner like this. So no matter what the restrictions are, limitations we have, because we're training outside of our club, the ingenuity and creativity prevails here. Folks being able to find just the most nichiest places to record.
Right, so making sure that you are able to get the whole form in probably a parent here recording, you do just want to make sure that the camera doesn't move around too much. It is a little distracting. And Haley here gets a 6.5, bit of a spread again on accuracy with that judge 1 dropping the score down.
시작.
And this is Haley Nguyen from Colorado. She trains at the U.S. Taekwondo Center, which we've seen many locations of. So again, a lot of schools out there in Colorado, which is really great. And she's coached by Master Hojun Park. So really nice to have so many of these athletes showing. Looks like she's moving through this pretty well. She could stand to sit a little bit lower in those stances. And finishing just back there in the corner. Not easy to do on cement. I'm sure if you don't have a lot of calluses built up on your feet, you're peeling off some skin. So kudos to Haley here, 6.27.
6.27. Looks like that camera was handheld as well. So kind of tough for the recorder and tough for the competitor. 6.38 is her final score.
준비. 시작.
Our next competitor here, Annika Tsutsumi, and she's from Virginia. She trains with U.S. Tigers, and her coach is Master Dennis Kim.
Annika's competed at the U.S. Open as well as the Grand Slam both this year. So really pushing herself, going to these competitive tournaments, showing some really great reach on those side kicks, maybe just a tad more control, blocking out some of the back legs on the front kicks and front stances. And I'm sure that she'll continue to just go up in the rankings. So really great opening here for Annika. She gets a 7.3.
Oh. This is really
we have just
astronomical here, so I just don't know how this is going to go for so many athletes in the division. I'm just amazed here. Athletes look strong. They're really pushing. Like her sidekick, she was really gambling there, like how far can I go and still maintain balance. So I'm applauding the effort by all of these athletes, really trying to push themselves and really getting well rewarded in their scores.
Right, you know, it's not just that the judges are giving high scores, but it's these athletes are earning high scores. And this is just a really competitive division, similar to the women's senior 1 division where we started seeing those 8.0s come in, but everybody so far just doing so great. Annika here getting a 7.07 on her second form. Again, a spread in the accuracy, but so far consistent at least. And she gets a 7.18.
Me?
This is Chiara Flotildes. She's from New Jersey. She trains with that team, Apex Tigers, Team ATMA, coached by Master Gidok Gun. Another experienced competitor, lots of high-level tournaments and results, very competitive and coming out strong here so far. And here come those side kicks I'm excited to see.
Really nice extension. Wow, especially that side. That side was even better than the first. That one went way up there. I really like to see that front kick over the head on the way back. So most of these athletes are able to do that. They're all very flexible, can really push high. So for Chiara's first score, she gets a 7.67, another extraordinary score. And just in terms of like, what is going on? These guys are really great. Their performances are great, and the referees think they're great. Oftentimes, we don't know what the referees are going to come in with, but these are exceptionally high scores. Haven't seen anything like this in the Summer of Poomsae yet.
Right, we're 11. This is the 12th athlete so far in the division, and we already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 scores in the 7s out of 12. So, these athletes really stepping up their training over the past few months. They haven't had a chance to compete, but here they are showing that they've been working hard and being rewarded.
Right. And we're used to seeing in Summer of Poomsae so far, we'll get a couple of high scores and then a huge gap, right, between them and the next crew. So she finishes up that second Poomsae with a 7.53. Just a little bit lower than her first one. She had gotten a 7.67 on the first one. So she ends up with a 7.6.
And I believe that puts her in first place.
I think maybe Caitlin got, right. So Caitlin's on top. Caitlin Riccosado with 7.67, followed by Chiara at 7.6, Erica at 7.58, and Claire Yee at 7.37. Oh, this is going to be a battle.
And here we go. Another Eagles team competitor. This is Tiffany Nahigi from Eagles Taekwondo in California, coached by Grandmaster Jen. Nice reach and turn on the shoulders. Good front kick extension. Seeing that foot above the head on the front kicks. Maybe not quite as high as we've seen, but good extension, good control, and retraction on the side kicks.
Yeah, I think just a little bit more chamber on the side kick would help her get that up a little bit higher.
Sure.
So, again, we're being kind of picky here because she ends up with a score of 7.2, another over 7. Again, that judge 2 coming in with some pretty high presentation scores in this division. That last one, 4.2.
And Tiffany is on the 2020 national team for the female junior team. So lots of these athletes having individual, pair, and team gives lots of athletes the chance to make the national team over the years, and we're seeing a lot of them in this division already.
It's really good extension here, really settling into the stances, specifically the front stances here. It's like she feels very comfortable with this Poomsae.
Hello. Sure.
And ends up with another 7.2. So that's not too tough math to figure out for the final score. If I'm right, I think it's going to be, 7.2. Good job to Tiffany Guy for that preliminary round score there. This is Natalie Hong. And Natalie is from Apex Taekwondo Academy. She's coached by Master Cliff Hong. I've seen a couple competitors from this school, right, Miyako? So she has some teammates in the Summer of Poomsae.
Right. I don't think we've seen this much of the dojang before. I didn't notice there was a pillar there in the middle, but I do remember the 2 bobs on both sides of that back wall.
Right. It's always nice to have an audience. Make sure you get that support.
And they just thought that Natalie had some great side kick extensions in that dojang.
And 7.03, again with the 7s. Maybe we're definitely going to be in a preliminary round of the majority of the scores being 7s. We haven't seen that yet before on Summer of Poomsae, so we don't know what's in store here for the rest of this preliminary round. Don't know if we're moving up to 8s and 9s or we're going to hold steady here at 7s. This is Natalie Hong from Apex Taekwondo Academy, coached by Master Cliff Hong, working her way through Taekwondo Chojang.
I think another thing to make sure you do after you do that punch down on that top bar, you want to make sure you step the distance of a front stance. So not just stepping down, but a nice big step over to the side. And I think she could extend her front stances just a little, but judges not seeming to mind. Here we go with a 7.2 on her second form. And that gives her a total score of 7.12. So you're right, Coach Brand. So many of these already in the sevens. I don't know what is going to happen. We have 6 more athletes here tonight, but we will be.
Stop!
So this is Yeri Min, and she's from TG Taekwondo. Her coach is Master Boyoung Kim. Like many of the juniors, she looks like she feels very comfortable with Taega Gojang.
차렷!
Another grade score, 7.27 for Yeri Min. In our cutoff for the boys division, we had 44, the junior male black belt, and their cutoff was like 6.68. And I think yesterday for our cadet division, it was around 6.6 or 6.5. It was pretty much around the same level. I think in here we're going to be in the sevens for sure.
Well, again, this is just the first 20 athletes. So there are 70 total in this division. So make sure that it's not the top half of today's 20, it's the top half of the 70. So make sure you come back to the next episode, finish watching it out, and then we'll get those top 35 athletes to go into semis.
차렷!
So that was Yeri Min finishing up on Cho Jung, and her totals, her score for that Poomsae was 7.33, so boosted her up a little bit from the first one at 7.27. So she earns a score of 7.3. Again, in great position here with all the others in that 7+ range. Up next is McKenna Porter. Here we saw our teammate just a bit ago in the same space. McKenna is from North Carolina, and she trains at Tiger Kim's World Class Taekwondo. Her coach is Master Han Dong Myung. Really reaching up there. A little more chamber would help her. Looks like the leg is coming straight up. So maybe just a little bit more bend will help her get that up. But a nice strong finish there for McKenna Porter. And she finishes up that first Poomsae Taega Gojang with a score of 6.97. Like we said, although that score is not above 7, that by no means means that she will not make the cut. We just don't know. We don't know where the rest of these scores are going to go. So we have to wait till episode 4 to see many of the competitors go after this. And again, we're going to be using the same referees, the same referee group, the exact same 3 will be doing the scoring, even though it will be in different episodes.
And McKenna has some really great front kicks. I think she needs to work on just really locking out those stances, staying grounded, cutting out some of the extra movement. But she has a lot of potential and scoring nearly a 7 on that first form. So this is a really competitive division, and McKenna's opening up with some really strong forms here in the prelims.
Sure.
And for her second Poomsae, gets a score of 6.83, so just a bit underneath her first score. And she finishes with a 6.9, so nice high finish for her. Up next is going to be Sava Khan. So we have just 4 more athletes in this episode. So we're going up to number 20 in the female black belt junior division. So Saba's from World Taekwondo Academy in Minnesota, and she's coached by Master Patrick Hull.
And Saba has a sibling competing in this competition as well in the cadet division. They both just got their second Dan black belt in June of 2020. So congratulations to Saba. Glad that you're able to do that testing probably during quarantine. I'm not sure how some of these schools are doing their belt testings, but congratulations. And she gets a 6.53 on her first form.
So yesterday, in the last episode, when you were viewing the competition, you might have noticed some Chojung action and full of picky little detail items right here on this line, and then more typically this line right here, a lot going on. So we're making sure that as athletes, we're hitting each one of those techniques correctly, making sure we have nice, clean finish. We talked about this last time, right, Miyako, about how important it is to make sure that we know exactly what those techniques are all about and how to execute them properly.
Absolutely. Lots of interesting moves that only happen in that form. Saba getting a 6.57 on Chojung for a total of 6.55.
Yeah, so a little bit higher on that second form. She should be happy about that, especially with Chojung, because there are so many accuracy items there. So up next, and we are down to our last three competitors for this particular episode. This is Megan Lee from Eagle Taekwondo, coached by Master Jung Jun.
Megan Lee is also on the 2020 national team, would have been going to the World Championships in Denmark. And in our facts, we asked athletes to submit. It was just results from the past 2 years. And Megan has champion, 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 champion. She has so many medals, so many teams that she's been on in just the past 2 years. So really strong athlete here, very competitive, and opening up with a really great Ojong.
Wow, look at that. 7.87, the highest score so far in any Poomsae in this division. That's Megan Lee's first Poomsae score, 7.87.
And that's by 0.2 of a point. That's by 0.2, the highest score so far. So really strong competitor. This Eagles team really opening up strong in this tournament. Outside of Taekwondo, Coach Brand, this is interesting. Megan likes to do skateboarding. I feel like it's different, but probably helps a lot with her balance in her core work.
And just plain fun, right? So sometimes we're working so hard and indoors in Poomsae, so it's nice to get out there, get some fresh air, do something that's also very athletic and requires a lot of agility and balance. And so good for Megan for jumping outside every now and then and getting some fresh air and some wheels on the sidewalk. 7.67 for Megan Lee for her second Poomsae, down just a 0.2 from the first one, but altogether, holy cow, what a high score is going to be coming in here. 7.77, and now into first place.
Right, that puts her a whole 10th ahead of Caitlin Reclusado, who was in first at 7.67, then Chara Flotilde is at 7.6. Here are those rankings now. Remember, we're just doing the first 20 today, but you'll have to come back for the next episode to see the next 50 athletes, and then eventually, once we have all 70, we will take the 35 top scorers into the semis.
So this is Rebecca Ponte, and Rebecca is from Impact Taekwondo. Rebecca trains in Nevada. We haven't seen a ton of athletes from Nevada, but those we have, I think, have been all from this same club. She's coached by Master Yasmin Brown at Spirit Taekwondo. And her score is 7.37. So again, that Judge 2 coming in with really high presentation scores, but also being pretty darn consistent with that too, awarding many of the athletes high presentation. So as long as the referees maintain their consistency, we'll be okay as we're going through the division, making sure we're getting the top athletes to go to the semifinal round.
And an interesting fact about Rebecca is that she just immigrated to the US last July. So she's competed in a lot of national tournaments in the Philippines and lots of team trials over there where she placed, but now in the US able to compete for these ranking points to try and make the national team in 2021.
So finishes her second Poomsae with a 7.5, another score there, right kind of in the range of some of our top athletes, and she's finishing with a 7.43.
And just one more athlete to go for tonight, everyone. And this is Alicia Gopal from Connecticut, training out of the World Champion Taekwondo Center, Woodbridge, coached by Masters Hee Yeon Kim and Sung Pil Kim.
So she's taking a pretty safe, moderate pace. We'll see how this pays off here. Really good extension off of her side kick.
Yeah, that left side kick coming out really nice, a little bit higher than the right leg. Like you mentioned, a little bit more conservative approach to the tempo, but good accuracy, good presentation, and it gets her a 7.1. Yeah, this is going to be a crazy division, Coach Brando. Basically, most of the scores in sevens.
Yeah, I can't wait till the next episode. I'm sure everybody who's watching has probably viewed all of the episodes, all of the adult episodes and all of the cadet episodes, and now starting with the juniors here. So I'm sure everybody's just like got their eyeballs wide open and going, oh my goodness, look at these scores. This is really fascinating. Let's see how this all turns out. So you'll be able to do that in episode 4 of the Summer of Poomsae, where we'll see the remainder of the junior black belt female preliminary round. So Alicia received a 7.1 for her first Poomsae and a 7.03 for this one. So her combined score is going to pop up right now, and then hopefully we'll be able to see the standings as well. So 7.07. So wow, this is a race, absolute race here.
So again, this is just the first 20 athletes. In first place, Megan Lee, followed by Caitlin Recusado, Chiara Flotildes, Erica So, Rebecca Pointe. And here's our second screen of those top first 20 athletes. Reminder, come back in the next episode. We will have the remaining 50 athletes in this division, and we'll take the top 35 into the semifinals.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to it. We hope you are too. Thanks, Miyako, for joining me here, and thanks to everybody behind the scenes, Jose Villapando and Alyssa Allen, for putting this all together. Thank you very much. We hope to see you guys real soon on episode 4.
So welcome back. Great competition here. Amazing athletes doing amazing things. Sherm?
Yes.
I'm enjoying the Summer of Poomsae by USA Taekwondo so very much. How are you?
I'm well, my friend. I'm enjoying it as well. Listen, this episode we got to watch the juniors. We got to watch the junior males and a small sliver of the junior females.
No, you're right.
We have so many junior female competitors, and in no way is that a bad thing.
No, you're right. It's not. And Kumgan and Taebaek, listen, one of the forms that I competed with early on with Tayback that we didn't have to choose them all. And one of my favorites, it's such a clean, really graceful form. I enjoy watching that. On the female side, the females starting off with Taegu 7 and Taegu 5, really a contrast, big, massive contrast. The male side starting with really high black belt forms, second and third degree black belt forms. Females down there in the color belt forms doing the 5s, the 7s. So you just never know what what forms you're gonna get in your prelims. And in this case, it was a big difference. But again, so impressed with the level of expertise from our Poomsae athletes.
Yeah, and that's why they have to be ready to cover the whole spectrum. And if they stay ready, they don't have to get ready. So again, kudos to those athletes and their performance. But Jason,
yes,
I have a thing for you.
This is exciting. I look excited.
Ah, now you're starting to acknowledge it properly. Dad joke. So earlier today, I accidentally sprayed some deodorant in my mouth. And now when I talk, I have this weird accent.
So bad.
That's so good.
Oh, that's so bad. Okay.
I don't understand how you don't like
I'm trying not
comedy.
trying not to laugh.
That's why we should have played that make you laugh game. I promise you I would have made you laugh every time. All right, so again, nope, we're not talking about my jokes because I don't know if I want to keep wasting this comedy gold on you. I don't think that you appreciate it. So shout out to our junior athletes trying to make it to the male athletes trying to make it to the semifinals. Congratulations to the first portion of our female junior athletes who are breaking the ground for their division, and we'll see the rest of their junior competitors in our next episode. Is that right?
You got it. That's exactly right. Yeah, so don't go anywhere. That means you have more episodes, opportunity to watch your favorite competitors compete here at the Summer of Poomsae. This is Jason and Sherman for USA Taekwondo, and we're coming back with more very soon.
Peace.